By the way, I know, do you do Q&A question and answers?
Not in this class.
Not in this class, but in general, live.
I haven't set that up yet.
Dr. Princeton does that.
Yeah.
Very successful. Anyway.
Okay, l'chaim everyone. The first Thursday night cheer in 5779 and Tavshinai and Tes. And this is, as we mentioned earlier, Shmua Tova Tadash and Atzem. Good news is the Rosh Hashanah of the year. Shmua Tova, good news, Tadash and Atzem fattens the bones. So the best news is the news of Chassidus, that God is real. And that's the news of Mashiach. And that's the news of this discourse. So we're going to begin a very special mimer. Oh yeah, here's the copies. Take a few, put them by the men. I'll send some to the ladies. Okay. So we're beginning the mimer Hazinu Hashomaim V'Adabera. It's not this week's parsha. This week is Parshas Vayelach. But it's next week's Torah portion. The mimer was actually said in Tov Kuf Ayin Beis, Shabbos Shuvah. So that year, most of the year Shabbos Shuvah, or a lot of the years, comes out Hazinu. This year Shabbos Shuvah is a Vayelech, but in many years it comes out Hazinu. So on Shabbos Shuvah, Tov Kuf Ayin Beis, was second to the last year before the Alter Rebbe's passing. Alter Rebbe passed away in Tov Kuf Ayin Gimel. So this is in 1811 is when the Alter Rebbe said this discourse. And here we go. We're going to learn hopefully half of it this week, and then we'll continue next week, because the mimer puts together Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and Sukkot. Actually, tonight we're not going to get even to the Rosh Hashanah part, but it's good. It's good enough as it is. And then it unifies all three together. So we'll, Be'ez Hashem, learn that next week. Okay, ready to go? Ready to go. Hazinu Hashomaim V'Adabera. Listen, heavens, and I will speak. Moshe Rabbeinu says, listen, heavens, and I will speak. V'sishma ha'aretz, and the earth should hear imrei pi, the words of my mouth. Yaroif, it should drip, kamotar, like rain. Likchi, my words. Moshe Rabbeinu is saying it's the beginning of that shira, of the song that is meant to be a testimonial between God and the Jewish people, that Hashem has foretold us everything that's going to happen in Jewish history. It's fascinating. And that's that Parshas Hazinu. And the opening words of Hazinu is Moshe Rabbeinu calling, think about this, a human being standing and talking to the heavens and to the earth and telling them to stand as witness that for all the words that he's going to say, and that later we will see the witnesses will say, I told you. Heaven and earth will say, I told you. Because heaven and earth was created for the observance of Torah and mitzvahs and the long story of Jewish history. The story of Jewish history is the story of heaven and earth. And they're standing by to bear testimony about that God's covenant with the Jewish people is true, and that all that Hashem said would happen. It would get rough. We were given the mitzvahs. In the beginning we were excited. Then we would get a little bit, a little distracted by being that our job is we're heavenly creatures that have to bring heaven down to earth. And since part of it is to be on earth can get a little overwhelming and a little overpowering, and a person forgets that he's here on earth to bring heaven down to earth. And so the verses of Hazinu say how, as a collective whole, we will make that mistake. And as a result of that, things won't turn out so well. But in the end, even those mistakes and even those blunders will lead us to even a deeper connection to God. And eventually we'll come back and Hashem will make peace with his people. And that's, people don't realize, the story of the world is really the story of the Jewish people. And then the world is kind of the set, the stage, and where this theatrical thing plays itself out, the story of the romance between God and Israel. So Moshe Rabbeinu was standing over here and telling the heavens, Hazino Hashomaim, listen heavens, Vadaber and I will speak, V'sishma Aretz, and earth, listen, Imre Pi, the words of my mouth. And what is he saying? Yaroif, let it drip. Yaroif, let it drip, Kamata, like rain, Likhi, my words. Tizal Katal, let it drop. Tizal, let it drip, drip. I guess that's another word of dripping. Katal, like dew, Imrasi, my words. So Moshe Rabbeinu was comparing his words both to rain and to dew. Now both are water, both are very, very, very important, and the world needs it, and for the moisture, and it is needed for all growth to happen. So now he says like this. Now the Torah we know is compared both. Rashi says that Moshe Rabbeinu is saying my likhi, my words, is referring to the Torah. The Torah is compared both to rain, and it's also compared to dew. To rain and to dew. Like it says, for just like rain comes down, against snow comes down, min Hashomaim, from the heavens. It's a pasuk where it describes, we say it by a fast day. On every fast day in the Haftorah, it says just like the rain comes down and quenches the thirst of the earth, so says God, my words that come out of my mouth, which is what? The words of Torah, they also should quench the thirst of the earth. So you see from here that Torah is clearly compared to rain. There's also, Torah is also compared to dew. Where do we find the Torah being compared to dew? Tal Torah, the dew of Torah. The sages referred to that when Mashiach will come, how will the resurrection happen? How will those who passed away come back to life? It says that the dew of the Torah will come down, special dew, and that is going to resurrect all the dead. And that's also already happened, as we know, by Matan Torah, by the giving of the Torah. The experience of Matan Torah was so powerful that it knocked our socks off, or rather it knocked our souls out. We passed away as a result of the giving of the Torah. That's how powerful it was. And actually we passed away 10 times. And every time another one of the commandments came out, the ecstasy and bliss and the sweetness and the power of the experience was just too overwhelming for the body to contain it. And the soul drifted away from the body. And how did we come back alive? Hashem rejoined body and soul again with the dew. He brought down the special dew of Torah, and that's what reconnected soul and body. So you see that Torah is also compared, or has an element of dew. Amar Azal, the sages also say, Mital Hashomaim zeh mikra. He brings another reference, and where we see that Torah is compared to dew. It says when Yitzchak blessed Yaakov, he said Hashem should give you from the dew of heaven. And the sages explain that this, in addition to it meaning the physical blessings, it also has spiritual content. From the dew of heaven is referring to mikra, it's referring to chumash, it's referring to Torah Shebiksav, the written Torah, which is called the dew of heaven. And then Mishmanei Aretz, the fat of the earth, that's Mishnah, it's Torah Shebal Peh. So Yitzchak was blessing Yaakov with the Torah. But from here we see again, in both these cases, from both these places, we see that both rain and dew are references to the Torah. Later in the Maimer, the Alter Rebbe is going to explain that the Torah has two dimensions to it. There is one dimension of Torah, which is the lower dimension of Torah, which is called rain, and then there is a higher dimension of Torah, which is called dew. Okay. Now the difference, however, between rain and dew is both of them are liquid, both of them are water, in a sense, but one of them is produced from down here and the other one is produced from above. Dew is a moisture that comes from heaven. It just comes down from above every day, like a fog or whatever it is, that comes down and brings that moisture. And so therefore, spiritually, it's also the same thing. Dew, the Gemara says, is never ever withheld. It's not dependent on our actions. It's something that God gives as a gift for no charge. However, rain is something that we participate in. As we know, even the physical dynamics of rain is that the steam, the vapor goes up, and that's because the sun is beating on the earth, on the waters, whether it's from lakes or rivers or the ocean, and that creates the steam, the vapor that goes up, the mist, which creates clouds, and those clouds are then dispersed by the winds, and spread out to wherever it needs to rain, and it rains. So that's really coming from below. That's the difference between rain and dew. Like it says, Ve'ed Yalam in Haaretz, that a mist, it says in Bereshis, right after the story of creation, it says a mist went up from the earth, Vehishka, and it would give to drink the Pnei Kol Haaretz. Tal and dew, and dew is from above. That's a bracha that comes from above. So now, so soon we're going to, so Moshe Rabbeinu was saying that there is this water and there is the rain and the dew, which is a reference to the Torah. But Moshe Rabbeinu, before he's telling us about the Torah, he's telling us before that, listen, who's to listen? Heaven and earth should listen. So the Alter Rebbe explains, in addition to heaven and earth, in the physical sense of heaven and earth, there is also the neshama of heaven and there is the neshama of earth. The soul of heaven and the soul of earth. Who is the soul of heaven and who is the soul of earth? In general, the Jewish people are the soul of the world. So when we say listen heaven and listen earth, we're referring to two types of souls. There are more heavenly souls and there are more earthly souls. Two types of Jews. The Jewish people are divided into two camps, the souls of heaven and the souls of earth. When Moshe Rabbeinu was saying listen heaven and listen earth, he's speaking to the two groups of the Jewish people. There are mitzvah Jews and there are Torah Jews. The Torah Jews are the heavenly Jews, and the mitzvah Jews are the earthly Jews. But both of them, and each one he's going to explain, each one has a quality over the other. There's a certain power to earth that heaven doesn't have, a certain power to heaven that earth doesn't have. But it's not just, of course, because he's speaking to the two different types of neshamas, two types of souls, he's also addressing heaven and earth, because heaven and earth is just an external manifestation of these neshamas, of these souls. When the merit of what does the heaven and earth stand? On the merit of the souls that study Torah, and on the souls that do mitzvahs. Okay. So who are these ve'inyan, as you know, Hashomaim v'tishma aretz, and what does it mean, listen up heaven and hear earth? Who, ki yesh beis min neshamos, there are two types of souls. Echad, one of them is oisam shehem baalei Torah. These are the people that are Torah scholars. Sheterasan umnasan, Torah is their occupation. They study Torah all the time. Torah and Nasan is actually a very high category of Torah scholar. These are people that are so devoted to Torah that they don't do anything else but study Torah. Actually, it says that these people are exempt from even prayer, because Torah is there. Besides Kriya Shema, they don't have to pray because the Torah is there. But on a more broader sense, it means all the Jewish people who devote most of their lives to Torah study. V'abeis, and the second type of Jews, in other words, sometimes we refer to them as Yisachar Jews. And then there's another type of Jews, Baalei Asakim. They're business people that are more involved with the world. But a Jew is not involved with the world just to be involved with the world. A Jew is a mitzvah being. So if he's involved with the world, it's so that he can do more mitzvahs. Because people who work for a living, especially those that are successful, have a greater opportunity to do mitzvahs. And that's the mitzvahs you do from earth. She'oiskim b'mitzvahs, they're the ones that are osek in mitzvahs, so gumilas chasadim, and gemilas chasad, and acts of kindness. Now, why dafka these two things? Why are the Jewish people divided into these two camps, the Torah Jews and the mitzvah Jews? It says because the world really stands on three pillars. The world stands on three pillars: ala Torah, ala avoda, on Torah, and on avoda. Torah is Torah, and avoda is divine worship, which is primarily through the sacrifices and the worship in the temple, and on acts of kindness, which is a general term for all the mitzvahs, but primarily the mitzvahs of tzedakah. So he says today's days, where the world is really standing only on two pillars, because the third pillar, the one of worship, avoda, is not really in place. We have some sort of a substitute, which are prayer, but it's not really fully. So so now we have two pillars can keep it up. I mean, of course, it's tremendously enhanced when we have three pillars, but it stands on two. The avoda, which is the mitzvah of karbanos, ein lanu meshachar beis hamikdash. Once the beis hamikdash was destroyed, we don't have any more the avoda. So what is left for us is only Torah and gemilas chasadim. Ubaalei Torah nikra shamayim, and that's what's mainly needed to hold the world up. What's the world? Heaven and earth. So the Torah scholars keep the heaven in place, and the mitzvah observers keep the earth in place. So Ubaalei Torah, and those that study Torah nikra shamayim, they're called Shamayim. Why are they called Shamayim? They're called heaven. Al Shema Torah, Sha'Torah min Hashomaim. Torah was given to us from heaven. And Torah is a heavenly entity. When you're learning Torah, you're basically eavesdropping into God talking to himself. That's what Torah is. It's God's, it's Hashem's wisdom, it's Hashem's knowledge, Hashem's mind. You're plugging into God's brain when you're learning Torah. So that's heaven. Va'aretz, and earth, ubchenes baalei mitzvahs. Why? Because mitzvahs you can only do with earth on earth. The mitzvahs don't exist in heaven. The entire element of mitzvahs exists on earth because dafka, the physical planet, is where we can do mitzvahs. Va'aretz, ubchenes baalei mitzvahs, and aretz, and we say earth. Earth in a greater meaning doesn't mean just the earth, it means the people who are occupied with the main purpose of earth, which is to do mitzvahs on earth. So for him, baalei mitzvahs, these are baalei mitzvahs, so oiskim became a mitzvahs ma'asiyos, who are primarily busy and occupied with the fulfillment of physical mitzvahs, but payol mamish in the literal sense. Look in the first mimer in Torah Or, the first mimer in the Chassidic Parshi in Bereshis, which we're going to learn in Bereshis. So that mimer, he explains how Torah is called heaven, which God says, heaven is my seat, and the earth is my footstool. So that's referring to Torah and mitzvahs. That's how he explains it there. Regarding to do these two types of neshamas, there is a pasuk in Shir HaShirim where God says, Mi yatencha ka'achli, if only you can be like my brother. And then it says, Am tza'achal b'chutz, I find you outside. So it's referring to two different types of Jews. One kind of Jew is God's brother, a sibling. He's always hanging out with God. Two siblings are very close to each other. They always chat on the phone. They always connect. They like hanging out together. So that's those who are learning Torah all the time. But then the pasuk says, I find you outside, is referring to the Jews that are outside of holiness. They don't study Torah. They're hanging out primarily in the mundane realms of existence. But they're thirsty for God much more than those that are hanging inside. That's what it says. And God says, I kiss them, referring to the Jews who are outside, but they come in a little bit to learn a little. They come in from the outside. And the Alter Rebbe explains, those are the Jews that are primarily called Baalei Tshuva, because they're those who study Torah all the time, they're like tzaddikim. They're always connected. Those that are outside struggle, but yet they have a greater thirst, and that's the Baalei Tshuva. This is the same, similar to the idea of Yisachar and Zevulun, same characterization. Now, just like in the creation of the physical heaven, we can't determine which one is really greater, heaven or earth. How do we know that? It says, in the beginning, God created a heaven and earth. So which one is given more honor? Heaven. Heaven is stated first. Beginning. But then a few psukim verses later, it flips the whole thing upside down. Shamayim kadmon la'aretz, then heaven is before the earth. But then it says a few verses later, on the day that God, Hashem, Elokim, created Eretz v'shamayim, earth and heaven. So it puts earth before heaven. So you see from here that there is sometimes where heaven is before earth or earth before heaven. Eretz kadma. And that's why there's an argument in the Gemara, which one was actually created first. And then there's a third place in which we derive that both of them were created together. They're both equal. But in the as it is in the spiritual sense, the question of which one has greater content, which is more meaningful. And the answer is, in some respects, heaven is greater than earth. That's why heaven was created first. In some respects, earth is greater than heaven because the ultimate purpose is earth. So in any case, so just like we have that debate and those two dynamics in the physical element of heaven and earth, the same is also true in Torah and mitzvahs. Matzanu ra'inu, we find and we've seen shepa'amim amru, that at times they've said the Talmud Torah keneged kulam. Torah study is equal to all the mitzvahs. We say it every day in davening. Torah study is equivalent to all the mitzvahs. You can study Torah for 20 minutes, and it's as if you did all the mitzvahs of the Torah, all 613. It's of greater value. V'chein amru, there's another, the Chassidics also say, al pasek kol chaveitzim lo yishvu ba, all objects can't compare to it. So the sages say, what kind of objects are we talking about? So they say the word chaveitzim doesn't mean just objects, it means all desirables. Everything that's desired cannot compete with it. What's the true desired? Mitzvahs. Mitzvahs is what God desires. Yet it can't compare to the Torah. Kol mitzvah shel Torah. All the mitzvahs of Torah, einon kedai, don't equal neged halacha echad min haTorah, compared to one halacha. So last night I couldn't sleep. Because I was so exhausted from Rosh Hashanah that on the fast I went to sleep for a few hours and I just slept. So I guess I was up last night. So in the middle of the night I was just ready, just fed up with just trying to sleep. So I got up and I said, you know what? I'm going to start learning Shulchan Aruch this year. I don't learn Shulchan Aruch. How long can I be ignorant? I learn Chassidus, but I have to learn Shulchan Aruch. And I, Baruch Hashem, I have this nice, beautiful, white, new Shulchan Aruch from the Alter Rebbe, which they reprinted in English. It's really a delight. So I said, you know, Hilchos Shabbos, I should really learn Hilchos Shabbos. Baruch Hashem, I have a Rebbitzin who knows Hilchos Shabbos, so she protects me. I send her all the questions, all my rabbinate questions, they come to me. I send them to the Rebbitzin, so she takes care of it. But it would be nice if I know something. So I took out Hilchos Shabbos and I started learning the laws of Havdalah. I was enjoying myself. I said, wow, the Nigla stuff is pretty interesting. But now I realize, it's like, you see, all the mitzvahs don't compete to one halach. You can learn a lot of halach. Neged halacha echad min haTorah, compared to one halacha from the Torah. Upa'amim amru, and at other times they say, tachlis chachma tshuva ma'asim tovim. The epitome of chachma, the point of chachma. What's the purpose of chachma? On the other hand, we find the opposite. What's the point of all the wisdom, which is Torah? Tshuva, it should bring you to repentance. Ma'asim tovim, and good deeds. So in Judaism, you can never figure it out. Once you think you finally, organized everything in your head, you come across something that, takes everything and flips it upside down. So here's the same thing. After you just heard two statements of the sages that say that all of mitzvahs can't compete with one halacha, it says all of the Torah has one purpose. It should lead you to good deeds. And the answer is both are true, and both have a quality in it. The sages also say, Gadol Talmud, and then another verse. Just like he brought two Mamara Chazal, two statements of the sages to prove that Torah is greater than mitzvahs, he brings two statements of the sages proving that mitzvahs are greater. So again, it says Tachlis Chachma, the point of all of wisdom is Tshuva Ma'asim Tovim. That's number one. And there's another Maimer Chazal. Gadol Talmud b'mashem mevi l'dei ma'aseh dafka. Talmud is great. Why? It brings to action. So again, that action, the whole thing, the greatness of Talmud, of study, is that it brings to action. And the Rebbe says, both are true. There is a certain quality in Torah that's not there in mitzvahs. Nevertheless, nevertheless, there's also a tremendous quality in mitzvahs. That's not in Torah. As stated and explained elsewhere. Each one has a great quality. Torah has an awesome, which doesn't have a mitzvahs, and mitzvahs has a quality that's not in Torah. Now, on the Torah of these two types of neshamas, so good. So once we've established this, that there are heavenly Jews, which are Torah Jews, they're living in heaven, and then there are earth Jews, those that are connected to earth, they're grounded, but they do mitzvahs with the earth, and each one has a quality. So now Moshe Rabbeinu is talking to these two types of Jews, and he's saying, listen, heaven Jews, and listen, earth Jews, let me tell you something about Torah study. Because even the earth Jews also learn Torah. So they also need to know something about Torah study. And he's going to tell them both about the two levels of Torah. He's going to tell them about the Torah that's compared to rain, and the Torah that's compared to dew. So, and on the Torah of these two types of neshamas, hanikra Hashomaim va'aretz, that's called Hashomaim va'aretz, hu oime yarav kamato likchi, it will rain. In other words, it would seem to imply, again, I didn't really learn the end of the Maimer, I've just learned half of it, I didn't get it. But it seems like where it's going is that in Torah itself, there is the Torah of the Jews that are more on earth, and their Torah then is like rain, because rain comes from earth and goes upward. And then the Torah of the people that are more heavenly Jews, to them, the Torah that they're learning is primarily dew. So there's in other words, both learn Torah, because Rambam says, and we just learned in the laws of Rambam, Hilchos Talmud Torah, that every single Jew, even though a person who is the busiest of the busiest, he has a large family and he works for a living, has to set times for Torah study. There's no exception. By day and by night. Everybody's got to learn Torah. But they're still called earth Jews, because most of the time they're doing mitzvahs, they're involved with earth. But yet, there's a certain quality to their Torah, and their Torah is more like rain. And then there is the Torah from the Hashomaim Yidden, which is more like dew. So let's see. The Inyan, and the idea is as follows, the Kamoish Inyan. So let's first understand what's the effect of rain. What's the purpose of rain? What does rain accomplish? The Inyan. So we're using the rain as an analogy. That what? That just like the idea of rain, and its effect. It descends and it malachlich, it's soft, it moistures, it brings moisture to the earth, to the soil. And it prepares it that the earth should be able to give out its vegetation. The earth has got this magnificent power of vegetation. But in order for it to accomplish it, it needs to be watered, it needs to be wet, and that's what allows the earth to produce. Like it says, that when the rain comes down, it quenches the thirst of the earth. And it gives birth, cause it to give birth, and then it gives forth its vegetation. Now, they're saying an amazing thing. The main power of vegetation is not from the rain. The rain doesn't make it grow. What makes it grow is the earth. Just you need to stimulate the earth's power. And you can only stimulate the earth's power. Last week we spoke about the seed communicating with the earth and calling forth, telling the earth what it wants it to produce. That's the seed. But this week he's going to talk about what the rain does. The rain's power in moisturing the earth. We'll see soon. But the main growth is in the power of vegetation that there is in the earth. That's able to give forth all of its vegetation. And through the seed that is planted, you got to awaken it. So you put a seed in, and the seed wakes up the earth and it says, basically, when you're planting a seed, you're talking to the earth. You're communicating. You're telling to the earth, hey, it's amazing how God did that. That He gave us the ability to talk to the earth and tell the earth what we want. We put a seed in. That's our way of communicating. To give forth vegetation similar to what we put in, but it doesn't just give you what you put in. It gives you an abundance, way more than what you put in. With a tremendous toisefes, with added riboy, with abundance, mechadash, from new. But here's a condition. But you can't awaken the earth. That it should reveal itself. To have its effect, to affect its effect. First thing you need to do is you need to plow the earth. The earth needs to be soft. If the earth is hardened and tough, it won't grow. So that's the idea of planting. You plant it, plowing. As you plow it, you break it. You break the chunks of the earth into small little pieces. And then the marpi ari is softening the earth. Then after you plow, the rain will come and really give the earth all of that moisture and all of its ability, all of the blessing needed for the earth to show you what the earth can do. It's an amazing, what is it called, symbiosis that the Eibishter has created, how all these things work together. So it needs the rain to moisten the earth, and then it will give forth its vegetation. So the Rebbe is going to explain how this entire process also exists in the inner world. There's the outer world. We said earlier there is the heaven and there is the earth. Heaven are the higher souls and the earth are the lower souls. So now he's going to explain how this whole idea happens. That there is the earth, and these Jews that are the earth Jews, all Jews in general that do mitzvahs, because even the Torah scholars also do mitzvahs. In that sense, they also belong on earth. So with this element of mitzvah observance, which is the earth, he's going to show us how there are all these elements. You need a plow, and you need the water, but then the earth will produce unbelievable things. He's going to explain what the seed is and what the earth is. Believe it or not, the troublemaker in us, that's the earth. The nefesh of Bahamas is the earth. Not even the body. It's that animal soul that's such a, we call it a bandit, such a bulva. It's all over the place with its constant physical urges and drives and this. But that's the most potent thing that we have, is the animal soul. That's the earth. The seed planted in the earth is the neshama. The neshama is the seed that's planted in the earth. Along with the seed of the neshama comes the seed of mitzvahs. We plant mitzvahs. And that produces unbelievable godly produce. It brings a growth. It brings the crop. The crop is godly revelation of Mashiach and all the essence of God revealed in this world. That's the crop, the ultimate crop, the ultimate delight. But in order for that to happen, we need to have a broken heart. When our animal soul is a little too full with itself, it's not going to produce anything. So the animal soul needs to be humbled and broken a little. And in addition to that, you need to saturate it with water. The water is, you have to learn Torah. And then after you learn Torah, which gives a certain bittul into the animal soul, it creates a certain yearning in the animal soul. That's the power of the earth, which is a power of yearning, a power of thirst. The thirst of the earth far outdoes the thirst of heaven. Our neshama belongs of heaven. Our animal soul is from the earth. When it gets thirsty for God, nothing can compete with it. When the animal soul. And that thirst calls down the powerful godly produce and revelation. But in order to get the animal soul on board, you have to give him a lot of Torah. You have to pray, and the prayer is a broken heart. And you learn Torah, you saturate it with a higher heavenly, godly light. Then it can produce that no one else can produce, only the animals. So all the dynamics of Yiddishkeit now are going to fall into place, how it all plays out, each thing. So let's see it inside. This whole mashal is also in the soul of man. It's the Torah study. That's the rain. After the plowing, when you plow, and then you get the rains. And he's going to, by the way, he's going to explain later how this system also works throughout we do this all the time, but there's also a particular time of the year. Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur is when we do the plowing. So we're going to be doing this next week. Think about it this way. All you're doing is pounding the earth. You're basically plowing your earth. You want to be fertile this year. You want to be able to produce unbelievable thing. You need to plow that smugness of the animal soul. The ego needs a little bit of a pounding. So you're pounding, make it soft. Let's get heartbroken. Do tshuva. And then afterwards you have the rains, our Shmini Atzeres, Yom Kippur, we get the Torah, Simchas Torah. And that's what we start reading the Torah all new again. Those are the rains. And all year long you're doing mitzvahs and you're producing unbelievable stuff. So this is the system that he's going to explain. Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, as we're going to see later. Okay, you can go home now. The whole Maayon we just did. I gave you a snapshot of what's coming. Then you affect to give forth Yeshua is the highest type of Yeshua, B'kerev HaNefesh, inside the soul. This is what it says. Kain yeh devarais, just like the rain comes down and saturates the earth. Kain yeh devarais, so will be my words. Asher yetzei mepi, that goes out of my mouth, lo yashav alai reikam, will never return to me empty-handed. Ki yem asas asher chafatzti, the rains, which are the Torah that you're going to study, is going to have an impact. That's what Hashem is promising. Learn Torah, just like rain. Rain always has an effect. I send it to the earth, it does what I want. So too the words that I send you out, which is my Torah, is going to accomplish es asher chafatzti, that which I desire. And what does God desire? We should bring him into this physical world. How do we bring him into this physical world? Through our animal soul doing mitzvahs, as we're going to see. V'nosan zera lezoreya, it will give seed to those who plant. V'inyan, and the idea is as follows. Every single Jew says, we turn over the page to page 148. Every single Yid says, Neshama shenasata bi, the neshama that you have given to me, tahirahi, she is pure. Ata berasa, you have created her, chulu, right? Ata yatzarta, whatever. And then finally, Ata mesham rabbi kirmi, you protect my neshama inside of me. Now the Alter Rebbe asks a simple question. Who is the one who says, Neshama shenasata bi? It can't be the neshama that you have given into me. It can't be the neshama talking, because we're saying the neshama that you have given into me. We're talking about the neshama. The neshama is, if it would be the neshama talking, it would say, Hashem, I'm thanking you that I've been put into a body today, or whatever. Is that we're saying the neshama that you gave into me, so someone else is. You can't say, maybe it's the body. So the Alter Rebbe says, you can't say that. Who's saying you've given into me? Will be kirbi. You can't say it on the body. A body is a dead entity. The body on its own. The body doesn't have a consciousness. It's physical. It's earth. It's an inanimate entity. It doesn't have words. You have to say there's a certain conscious being that's saying that. Well, that's our animal soul. Nefesh HaChiyun is our vivifying soul. In other words, our neshama is not what enlivens the body, because the Gentile doesn't have this level of neshama, this level of Jewish neshama, and yes, he's a full-fledged human being. So we're saying this is our human soul that vivifies our body and energizes us. But in addition to that, we have a higher, godlier being that resides within it, and that's what we're saying: the animal soul and the intellectual soul, which is both sometimes seen as one soul, sometimes it's seen as two souls. And then we say we have three neshamas: a vivifying soul, an intellectual soul, and a godly soul. But sometimes we see them as both as one unit. The intellectual soul, the power, is part of the human soul, because again, we're saying you don't have to be Jewish to have an intelligence, right? The non-Jew also has an intelligence. So Elazuhu Nefesh HaChiyunis. This is the Nefesh HaChiyunis, we're holding on top of 148, second page. Elazuhu Nefesh HaChiyunis. This is the Nefesh HaChiyunis, the vivifying soul. V'hasichlis, and it's the intellectual soul. Hamadaberes, that is speaking. V'oimeres, and that neshama she says, neshama shenasata bi, the neshama that you have given into me. Hainu al b'chinas nefesh ulukis shechelek l'kaim emal. The nefesh Bahamas is saying, it's amazing. So it's funny that when you're saying Berchas HaShachar, you're still talking from your nefesh Bahamas. Later, when you get into davening, you're deep into davening, you're already entered into soul consciousness. So you're probably speaking already from your neshama is talking. But when in the morning you're just rubbing your eyes, you're still saying Elokai neshama, you're just like waking up. So your first consciousness is your animal soul, vivifying soul, or even if you manage to get into your seichel, but it's still your seichel, it's not your godly soul. And it is proclaiming that neshama that you have put into me, Tahoirehi, she's pure, which means she's part of you. That's what Tahoire means. She's pure from any type of beingness. And then Ata Barasa, you create her to have some kind of a consciousness, some kind of a self-awareness. So that neshama, that's a piece of God from above, and that she is pure. And after she's already existing as part of Hashem, afterwards you create her, yesh me'ayin, something from nothing, and you bring that neshama into me, till you blew it into me, meaning into me, which is that human soul is appreciating the higher godly soul that's there. The godly soul becomes literally enclosed in the intellectual soul. So that's like a seed. The neshama is the seed, and it's planted in the earth. What's the earth? The animal soul. Now, why is the animal soul called the earth? Because that's it. That's what it's all about. On its own, if you don't fix it and you don't direct it, it gravitates to earth. It says in the pasuk, nefesh ha'baham. The pasuk says in Kehelas, it says you see the difference between nefesh ha'adam, the nefesh of man, ha'oilo l'maylo, that goes upward, ruach ha'adam, so not nefesh, ruach ha'adam, the spirit of man that rises upward, ruach ha'behema, the spirit of animal that hayared lamata, that goes down below to earth. So but what happens? But here's the thing: that earth, in order to plant, and seeds are nice, but they're literally sitting. You have a jar of seeds sitting in a jar. That's exactly what it's going to be. It's going to be a nice jar with seeds. If Hashem keeps the neshamas up there in heaven, it's a nice jar with seeds, garnished. In order to really get something kicking, get something moving, you have to take those seeds and plant it in the earth. That's inside the animal soul. And when you put the neshama in an animal soul, that's when it's like putting a seed in the earth. It can produce unbelievable. Sha'oz dafka, then toitzi tzimcha, it will give forth her vegetation. Mishim sheba oretz dafka, hu sheyesh koyachat tzemeach la'atzmiach b'toisvis ilui. The power of vegetation to give forth b'toisvis ilui with an added quality is only in earth, nowhere else. Kachu b'chenas yeridas hanefesh alikis. So the same is also the descent of the godly soul. Oyer zarua. This is we say. By the way, when we open up Yom Kippur service, in Kippur davening, we begin with Oyer zarua la tzadik ulu yishrei leiv simcha. Oyer zarua is the light that is planted. Talking about the neshama that is planted. That's the tzaddik, the neshama that's planted into this world. In any case, yeridas hanefesh alikis oyer zarua. Because what's the neshama? And what does it say? It's oyer zarua, a planting of light. What's the neshama? The neshama is Hashem's light. That's the neshama. So that's why it's called a ner Hashem. It's a lamp of God. It's God's light. And the neshama is planted where? In the earth. And now what happens when you put it in the earth? It rots. So the fact that we realize that we have darkness in our world, that we have our neshamas going through the ringer in our body, and it ain't easy, and we sometimes wonder like, why the heck, is this happening? The deeper meaning is, well, that's the way you produce something. You have to put the seed in the earth. It's for a time being, it's going to rot, but it's going to grow in the end. It has to be mislabish in the animal soul. Even though the animal soul is materialistic and on its own, left to its own devices, it's mamish like a cow. Why? Because dafke in it, which is the earth, is where there is the power of vegetation. La'atzmiach, Yeshua is to give forth, to sprout forth salvation, which we're soon going to see means godly revelation. Not just godly revelation, but the essence of the Eibishter to be brought into the world. Far greater effect than the seeds that are planted in it. This is what it says, Vizarati as Beis Yisroel, I will plant the house of Israel. That means the Eibishter is taking the house of Israel, those are the neshamas, and the Eibishter is planting them. V'zerati li ba'aretz, and I will plant her in the earth. Dafke. Hainu benefesh bahamis, dafke in the animal soul. Shal leha nemar, now he wants to connect. Why is the nefesh bahamis called earth? Shal leha nemar, because in regards to the nefesh bahamis it says, V'ruach ha'behema hayeredesu lamata la'aretz. The spirit of the animal that goes down lamata, it goes down below, la'aretz to the earth. You can look in that mimer. I don't think we learned that mimer yet. And therefore, since the power and the main power, the greatest potency is in the animal soul, in the earthy element of existence, that's why also all the mitzvahs were nishpal. Mitzvahs are really the Eibishter desire. They, in content and essence, they are unfathomably godly. They mean they're very, very spiritual, beyond spiritual. They're divine, but yet the mitzvahs all materialize in a physical form. And why did the mitzvahs come down to take on a physical form? And that is because v'nitnu, and they came down here. V'nitnu b'shvil hanefesh bahamis. They were all given for the sake of the animal soul, dafka. Why? Because if you take a look at mitzvahs, you see that all the mitzvahs are all action oriented, and action is done by your animal soul. Something that Alter Rebbe explains in Tanya. The godly soul is a spiritual being that can't energize a physical act. It can't. It's not in the realm of the physical, so it can't produce a physical movement. Just like I'll give you an example. A neshama that leaves a body is even though it can't stimulate anything in the physical. It has to be in a body, and only in the body can you move a table. A neshama can't move a table. It needs a body. A body can move a table. It can't apply physical force. It doesn't have any physical dimension to apply physical force. Now, even when a neshama is in a body, the neshama can't either apply physical force, even when it's in a body, because the neshama doesn't have physical pressure, physical power. The neshama has to trigger. The neshama is invested in the animal, in the human soul, or in the animal conscious, the vivifying soul, that spirit is closer to the physical and could generate physical energy and motorize the body, cause the body to move, the feet to move, the hands to move, and something physical to happen in the body. Therefore, every mitzvah is inspired by the neshama, but the neshama doesn't do it. It's the darker spirit, it's that animal spirit that does the mitzvah. So that means that when the mitzvahs are come down in a physical form, you can only shake a lulav. If you shake it, you have to move the lulav, to pick up the lulav. A neshama can't pick up a lulav. A neshama definitely can't blow a shofar. A neshama can weep a spiritual blowing of a shofar, but it can't produce that physical sound from today. It needs that animal soul to blow. So all mitzvahs come down into the range of the physical so it comes down to a place where earth can get involved. Earth is the animal soul. Because the potency to cause all the explosion of godly light, this amazing godliness, can only be if it's planted in the earth, the animal soul. So we're going to see what's the secret of the animal soul, that it's got such power. Where does it take that power that it can produce everything? But everything comes down into that range, as he says over here. Most of them involve physical actions. There are few of them. There is a mitzvah to believe in God. Emunah is not a physical action. The yediyas haboire, or knowing God, it's not a physical action. These are things that are for the godly soul. The godly soul is is a godly being. Where's our faith come from? The biggest testimony that we have a godly neshama is because every Jew has an intrinsic faith. And that faith it's like a deep conviction in God. Well, where's that coming from? It's not coming from the intellect, from the mind, from the human experience. It's coming because of that special infusion of a neshama, of a godly being that's within us, and it's within, and we're conscious of it. And that consciousness is convinced with absolute certainty in the existence of God, and it also can know Hashem. And even then, it's interesting, and the Rebbe says, even these two mitzvahs, emunah and knowing Hashem, even them, it's not the mitzvah element of it. In other words, the essential knowing of Hashem and believing in Hashem is something that applies to the neshama. But the mitzvah to know God and the mitzvah to believe in Him is only applicable when the neshama is in a body. Because up there in heaven, you can't command it to know God. God is obvious to the neshama. That's its natural awareness. It knows the Eibishter. Even these more lofty mitzvahs, they also affect the animal soul. Shaharei, because ala nefesh lekis on the godly soul is shaykh loshin tzivoy. You can't command him v'azara and a warning shaba'oida began Eden, that when it's sitting in Gan Eden basking in God's light, it should believe in the Eibishter. Why? Because the neshama already has a moon and knows memela automatically. V'lama zayarda beguf. So why did the neshama come down in a guf? Ladas ulahamin, and it comes down in a body so it can do mitzvahs. And one of those mitzvahs, it should know Hashem. Well, it knew Hashem much better in heaven. The answer is we wanted to know God in the space of the animal soul. We wanted to believe in God in the space of the animal soul, so that the animal soul, some of that knowledge and some of that amunah will saturate, will enter into, will permeate the animal consciousness, that it too will know Hashem. Ladas ulahamin, to know and to believe us, imloi b'shvil. So you have to say, imloi b'shvil nefesh bahamis. It can't be, in other words, it can't be for any other reason but for the animal soul. Dahainu. Shetehei mekaya masam, that the neshama should fulfill this mitzvah while she's enclosed in the animal soul. So even though he doesn't say it openly, so that too, that causes an enlightenment in the animal soul too, that the animal soul now gets to know Hashem, which the animal soul on its own doesn't. And dafka, then they're called mitzvahs, meaning even these two mitzvahs, knowing Hashem and believing Hashem, it's only a mitzvah when it's performed in a physical body. And we know that that any experience is greater when it's a mitzvah than when it's not a mitzvah. So you'll think, okay, no, but maybe the idea, maybe the knowledge of the neshama in Gan Eden, or its amunah in God that it had in Gan Eden naturally, is greater than when it comes down over here and it does it in the animal soul. No, he says no, because it's greater when you're commanded and when you're not commanded. And commanded is only shayach when it's down here in the animal soul, where it's possible to have contradictions, where it's possible to have confusion. And over here, the neshama has to reveal its amunah and her knowledge in Hashem. The kolshkin, but that's these two mitzvahs. But all the rest of the mitzvahs are for sure very physical. The kolshkin, the kavochem, shakol mitzvahs, and definitely, and how much more so all the other mitzvahs. Shakulam einem shaychim klal nefesh alikis. They all don't have any shaychis. They have no relevance to the godly soul. Ba'oida lamayla. The neshama in heaven doesn't know what a shofar is. It can't eat matzah. It knows the concept, but it doesn't have anything. When it becomes enclosed in a body and an animal soul, dafka it's that animal spirit that's a dark spirit that comes from the klipa, and that's the one that's converted to light because she's the one who does God's commandments. She's the one like offering sacrifices. Peyois, or giving l'churei means the maybe it can mean both payas. It doesn't just say peya. It says peyois, so it can mean the peya, giving the peya by the ends of the field, and maybe it also means the peya at the end of the head that you leave payas. Or bikurim, and the mitzvah of bikurim, which is bringing the first four fruits, or trumais, or giving truma, or maisreis, which are the gifts that you give to the Kohen and the Levi. V'chein choishen ve'ephod. And he throws in episode choishen and an ephod. It's funny that the Alter Rebbe, out of all things, suddenly throws in. And so the Kohen Gadol's breastplate and the ephod, which is the apron of the Kohen Gadol, this is a physical. You can't have a choishen and an ephod in Atzilus. You have to have it down here. Why is he suddenly, out of all mitzvahs, he's throwing in you a choishen and an ephod? So, not over here, but in Ateres Rosh, which is the Mittler Rebbe Sefer on Rosh Hashanah, he's elaborating on this mimer. I didn't learn it, but I looked in the back over here in the Haisafis. So they quote in the back in the Haisafis over here from Ateres Rosh, where there's explanation on this, why the Alter Rebbe is bringing ephod and choshen. He's saying, what's the most loftiest experience? What's the most spiritual Jewish experience possible? I'm trying to look for the most spiritual. Is the service in the temple. In the service in the temple, it's the Yom Kippur. When the high priest, he's like the greatest spiritual capacity, the person with the highest spiritual capacity is the Kohen Gadol, serving on the holiest day. So giving you the holy, holy, holy. And yet, that whole avodah they can only do when he's wearing big day kahuna. A naked neshama can't do that avodah. That has to be in a guf, only in a body, in an animal soul, in a body in which it can wear a choshen and an ephod with those powerful godly stones and a dafka in the physical. So that's the extreme why he's bringing choshen and ephod, to show that even the most spiritual moments, the truth is Yom Kippur when the Kohen Gadol is doing the avodah inside, he doesn't take the choshen and ephod because he only wears the white clothing. But still, the general idea is that the avodah on Yom Kippur requires a choshen and an ephod, which are physical. So you see how much the mitzvahs are dependent on the physical range. They have to be physical. The Gam mitzvahs Talmud Torah, and even the mitzvah of Torah study, which is less of a physical mitzvah, she'ikar mitzvah hu b'dibur. So she'ikar mitzvah hu b'dibur peh. So it says even the Torah study, the main mitzvah is to speak the words of Torah that you're learning and not learn it in your brain. And why do we have to speak? Why do we have to speak Torah? Because because in order to move the muscles of your mouth to be able to produce the words, that's called an action. The Gemara says moving your lips is called an action. It's called a maisa zuta. It's a small action, but yet it's considered an action, meaning you need physical energy to do so, and physical energy, that's your animal soul. So he's basically proving how all mitzvahs, because mitzvahs are seeds that are planted in the soil, and the soil is the animal soul. Only that is which has that power. So Afilu, and I was going to take it another step, even another spiritual mitzvah, love and fear of God, which love and fear is a more of an abstract type of an experience related more to the soul. Afilu ava v'yira, and even love and fear, which are the most spiritual of the mitzvahs, the bekavana talya milsa, which they're dependent more in intention. We're not dealing with physical action. In loving God, you're not dealing with a physical action. In fearing God, you're feeling of a deep inner emotion, which l'chura is something you fulfill with your godly soul. V'loi b'uvden, it's not involved with action. Uvdem, he's bringing it's probably a quote from Zohar. Bekavana talya, it's intended in kavana, v'loi b'uvden, not with action. Avahu believe, but still, as it says in Ayoim Yohim, that every mitzvah has a shiur. Every mitzvah has a set amount, a physical amount. And the sheer regarding to love, how do you know if you fulfilled your mitzvah of love? Till you can actually feel a physical sensation in your heart. You know, it's possible to have abstract love, but in Hayom Yom, it says that there's a certain sheer for love. You have to feel a physical burning in your heart, like if you would have a physical desire for something. You can mamish feel your heart is warm. That's how you have to feel when you're loving the Eibishter. So he says, he will believe it's in the heart. Shesham Yisoy the Eish. That's where the fire is. V'tzimoy and Ava, and the longing, the thirst of the love, is all coming. It's all physical. V'noilad men Adam, and that heat, that body heat in the heart, is created from what? From the blood, and the blood is created from what? From the food you eat. So that too is a very physical experience. V'noilad ben Adam shebalev shemizhave, that comes into being mi birurei macholim gashmiyim, from the birurim of physical macholim, of physical food. Dafka shemizbaredim bitztemucha. Again, if a person doesn't, here's the thing: if a person is going to try to be extra spiritual by reducing his nefesh habahamis, he's amazing. Let's think about this, Gavaldik. If your person, the nefesh habahamis can sometimes be big, a big behemoth, and sometimes it can shrink. It varies in people. Some people are born with a more robust animal soul. Some people have a more refined animal soul. Like a Chassidus explains that the animal soul sometimes is a sheep, and sometimes it's a bull. It's different types of animal souls. But even within, if someone, let's say, is blessed with a cow animal soul, a robust animal soul, yet that itself can be like the 7 meager cows, or it can be the 7 fat cows. And it depends on what we do with it. If we feed it every day, it becomes nice and big and strong, and if we deprive it, it becomes meager, small. So someone might say, you know what, I can't live like this. I can't live in this tension. So you know what, I'm going on a serious exercise of deprivation. I'm going to make my animal soul lose 100 pounds. Be a tiny little animal soul. By literally not feeding it. Fasting. You know what the Rebbe says? You can't, guess what? You're not going to have any energy to love God. Because when you're weak and you literally don't have any body heat, you can't love. Can't fulfill the mitzvah. To fulfill the mitzvah, you have to eat. You have to create blood. You don't have to eat like a chazer, but you have to eat. And you have to create the blood. And that blood will go into your heart, produce the heat, and from that heat is where you can love the Eibishter. And it gets converted to blood, and that's the only way you can fulfill the mitzvah. Bekaved in the liver, and that sends the blood to the heart. And there and in the heart is where the nefesh habahamis resides. Like we learn in Tanya, the nefesh halakis resides primarily in the brain, but the animal soul, its main seat, is in the heart, in the blood. And so you see that this mitzvah of loving Hashem is also a nefesh habahamis mitzvah. Now, that's love. You say, but maybe fear of God, that's more of awe, of a sense in the brain. V'gam pachad Hashem, and also the dread of Hashem. Ikrei believe, that too is mainly in the heart. Afagav the yira sharya b'moicha, even though it says that fear primarily resides in the brain. There's 2 types of fear. There is a more abstract fear that's in the brain, but then there's what we call pachad. Pachad is when it really causes you to tremble, and that's when it reaches your heart. And the desirable level of fear is when it will mamish hit your heart, that like you have like the Baal Shem Tov, that he was so, when he trembled, so he had such fear of the Eibishter that the table around him and everything was shaking literally from the fear that he felt. It permeated his physical body, and that's the ultimate level of fear. Vereishis, or the story with Reb Zusha, that when he looked at one time, went outside and he saw the stars, and he was so beheld by the power of God that's in the stars, that he had hemorrhaging for days afterwards of the tremendous fear that gripped Reb Zusha from seeing God's power by looking at a clear night in the sky. So, but that's the amount. It has to hit the body. It starts in the brain, and it ends in the heart. It's interesting, it doesn't say this cheshbon by love. By love, it's a p'smashma, it doesn't need so much of a process of moyach. Because there we also say, how do you have love in the heart? Also comes from the moyach. But again, for some reason, he differentiates. Harei shekamat kol hataryag mitzvahs. So you see from here that almost all the 613 mitzvahs, what is the almost? Which mitzvah is not included? I'm not sure. He says almost all the 613 mitzvahs, nitnu v'nishpalu b'nefesh habahamis, were given and they were lowered down into the animal soul, dafka. V'atam. What's the reason? So now we have this long elaboration how everything, and the reason is, because just like the neshama is a seed that gets planted in the soil, and the soil is the animal soul, so too, the mitzvahs are also called seeds. As it says, tzedakos. So there's two things that are planted. Tzedakah is planted, which are mitzvahs, and light is planted. Neshamas, which are light, is also planted. Ur zarua. Hashem plants light, and Hashem plants tzedakah. Two types of seeds. Uksiv, and it says, Ashreichem zoyrei al kol Maayon. Fortunate are those who plant next to, by a lot of water, which is referring to some kind of a planting of mitzvahs. V'hazriya, and where can you plant? The only place you can plant is in the soil. Hu bekarkas, in the soil, dafka. Shesham hu yesh koyach hatzameach, dafka, there is where there's the power of vegetation. V'hainu b'chinas nefesh habahamas. It's amazing. What we detest so much, what we get, for any person who's seeking to be a little spiritual and a little bit connected, gets frustrated with the animal soul. And the Alter Rebbe is saying, well, that's where all your power lies, in that animal soul. That's the animal soul. Shabah, hu sheyesha koyach, in that behema, in that animal soul, it has the koyach la'atzmiach Yeshuos, to sprout forth the greatest salvation. So now the Tzemach Tzedek has a little note over here. What is this question? In a famous mimer on Pasha Shemois that we learned already on the Haftarah Pasha Shemois, it says Aboim Yashresh Yaakov, that when the Yidden come to Golos, it says Yashresh Yaakov, which are the Jewish people, Yashresh, they take root. So it's explained over there. What does it mean, Haboim? And it refers to Eilish Mois Bnei Yisroel. These are the Bnei Yisroel Haboim Mitzrayim that came to Mitzrayim. What's the point? So that Hashem is planting their neshamas in Golos, and they're taking root and they grow. So there he explains in that mimer that Knesset Yisroel, the Jewish, that the neshamas, the Shekhinah, and the neshamas. We actually, by the way, we had a very interesting shir today, the Mashiach class, called Mashiach Matters. And over there's a very interesting discussion about the Shekhinah being considered a field, and the Aboim Yashresh Yaakov. So there it says that the field, the soil that is planted in the neshama. That the mitzvahs are the plantings. We plant mitzvahs, and where do we plant it into? The Jew, who is the neshama. You plant the mitzvah in a Jew, and that's when it can produce. So l'chura, and we know in many places it explains how the Shekhinah is called Oretz. She's called earth, and being that we're all parts of the Shekhinah. You take the mitzvahs are from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, from higher. And those mitzvahs are planted in the soil, which is the neshama, which is part of the Shekhinah. So l'chura, it's mashma that even the neshama is called Oretz. And here we're saying that the power of earth is where only the Nefesh HaBahamas. So which one is it? Is it the Nefesh HaBahamas, or is it the Nefesh HaLekis? And the answer is, it's Nefesh HaLekis when it's enclosed in the Nefesh HaBahamas. So it's true, the Nefesh HaLekis is also called Oretz. But when is the Nefesh HaLekis called Oretz? When it's, because we can only do mitzvahs when we're physically down here. Neshamas in heaven, even though they're parts of the Shekhinah, can't do a mitzvah. So that's what he's explaining. Yatul Hashem, this Basha Knesset Yisrael, Nikra Eretz Chayfetz, that Knesset Yisrael is called a desirable land. Va'am mitzvahs, and the mitzvahs Nizru ba'aretzu is planted in that Aretz. Da'ika Ayin Sham Barichos, look over there at great length. Ve'ein zesay salamasha kasav kan, and it's not a contradiction to what it says over here. The Makom Makom Zriyazu, who dafka beyoysa nefesh lekis, melu beshes benefesh bahamas. Dafka when the godly soul is enclosed in an animal soul. V'ayim ashkaz divra mascha v'yi b'shalach paroi. Ayin sham. Divra mascha zochar seyim hashavas l'kachay. Zochar v'sham b'dibur echad. Ayin sham in yonam elu. In those places, this is discussed. V'atamu, but now he's going to explain why is the nefesh bahamas so powerful. V'atamu mishum sha'nefesh bahamas b'sharsho m'koira, because our animal soul and its root and its source, who yoyser nailas ma nefesh lekis, is greater than the godly soul. Believe it or not, our animal soul is higher. It's the general idea that Olam HaToyu is higher than Olam HaTikun. And the world of chaos precedes the world of Tikkun. And then our neshama comes from the world of rectification. Our animal soul comes from that chaotic world. That's why it's a mess. Because things fell apart in that world. And that's why, but it has a certain potency that it's the same idea that Esav, the shorish of Esav, is higher than the shorish of Yaakov, and all these in Yonah. And that's why it has this koyach to be matzmiach. The nefesh Bahamas is taken from the shimarim, from the waste of the ofanim. Ofanim are the malachim, but they are the lowest kind of malachim. They are the malachim of the world of Asiya. Okay? There's three worlds, Olam Abriya, Olam HaYetzira, and Olam HaAsiya. Olam HaAsiya, the world of completion, the world of called the world of action, but really it's the world of completion, where the creation is completed, which means the creation is dense and thick and coarse and the like. Olam HaAsiya also has a spiritual side. Olam HaAsiya HaRuchni. That Olam HaAsiya HaRuchni, the spiritual Olam HaAsiya, is inhabited by angels called Oifanim. So from all the malachim, they are the lowest malachim. They have dregs, just like we produce waste. There's the waste. Obviously these are spiritual beings, so even their waste is spiritual. So the waste of the malachim become the animal souls of humans. They go into bodies. So we're talking about like at the bottom of the bottom of the bottom of the bottom of the system, like all the way at the bottom. Yet, because it comes from the Ifanim, and what he's going to do now in the Mimer is going to trace the Ifanim higher, higher, and higher. He's going to show you how the Ifanim that inhabit the lowest world are the most potent malachim from all the malachim. On the one hand, they're the most ignorant of all the malachim. They're the outer. The malachim of Olam Abriya look at the Ifanim and go feh, like Gerupkeit. That they're coarse. Their spirituality is coarse. They're dense. They can't get it. They don't understand anything. The malachim of Olam Abriya are like edel, refined malachim, right? But yet, to get the whole system kicking, to get the whole, we're going to see so Ifanim v'chai b'rash gadol, to create the rash gadol, only the Ifanim create. And he's going to explain the same dynamics, just like it is in the cosmos. There are the malachim that are very, very elegant and holy and godly, and they're the seraphim, they're burning up the God. But they're nice, they're wonderful, but they can't create the commotion. They can't create the entire thunderous force of this powerful godly storm to come in. They're not able to do that. The only ones who can do it is the Ifanim. So similar to that, in the dynamics of the person, the nefesh l'kis is similar to the malachim called seraphim. It's burning up for God, but it can't create that noise, that rash. The rash gadol that's needed is dafka the nefesh Bahamas, and dafka that rash reaches keser, it reaches the Ein Sof, and draws light and energy from there. That's why our animal soul is the most potent, and that's what he's explaining. Of the Merkava, now by the Ifanim. Now you'll say, how can a human soul come from the Ifanim? Ifanim actually means wheels, and they're Ifanim. In anything, they're kind of beasts. Why are they? How are they human? Because Ifanim too have four faces to them, just like the higher malachim called the Chayas HaKodesh, the ones in Olam Abriya have four faces to them, and one of them is a human face. The Ifanim also have a human face. But the Ifanim, you have to realize that, the Ifanim, their consciousness is a holy consciousness. They're not like our animal souls that are animals. That's why our animal soul is called, it's coming from the Shmarim of the Ifanim. It's produced from the waste of the Ifanim. It's like the psoles, because they're holy beings. Their psoles, their waste, becomes our animal consciousness, which is totally messed up. But it's amazing how these very lowest of spirits at the bottom of the food chain, bottom, have all the power to change everything. It says there's one oifen ba'aretz on the earth. Oh, that's, by the way, connecting that the oifanim are called aretz. He wants to prove that your nefesh Bahamas has all the power. And nefesh Bahamas, it's the soil. The soil has the power to produce. So you need to connect the Ifanim with Aretz. So the Nefesh Bahamas he connected to Aretz. Why? Because it says Nefesh Ruach HaBehema HaYaredes Lamato Ba'aretz, that goes down to the earth. But the Ifanim are also called earth, because it says in the pasuk, these are the malachim that inhabit earth. V'inei oifen ba'aretz. The oifen is on earth. Kidelakamot. V'inei kamoisha b'srafim, just like by the srafim. Yesh pnei aryeh pnei shor. The srafim have a face of a lion and a face of an ox. So too by the Ifanim it says, Al Arbas Rivi'ayim. I wanted to look up the pasuk, but I didn't get a chance to do so. Which means that there is some kind of four images to it. Uksiv Arba Panim Le'echad, there are four faces to one. Pnei Echad Pnei HaKruv, The face of one is the face of the kruv, the cherub. V'zehu pnei hashoyer, which is the face of the ox. The isa b'gemara. The kruv and the ox is the same. And the nefesh bahamis of the Jewish people, not even the nefesh bahamis of the Gentiles. The nefesh bahamis, meaning the nefesh bahamis of the Gentiles are from somewhere else. The nefesh bahamis from the Jewish people, like we learn in Tanya Perek Aleph, in the end of Perek Aleph, is on a higher level. It's a more pure place. It's from Klipas Noigat, not from Shalosh Klipas Atmeos. So it comes from the Pnei Shoyer, the face of the kruv of the Oifanim, but from the Shmarim, from the waist. That's where it comes from. Okay, so it's pretty pathetic. He just basically downgraded that animal's soul to be like the waist of the lowest angels. So what's the big power of it? So now he's going to explain how the Oifanim, in Perek Beis, he's going to explain how the Oifanim dafka shake the cosmos, and that which the Seraphim can't. The Seraphim are so much more refined, but they don't have that, they don't have the emotion, they don't have the energy that the Oifanim have. Even though Olam Asiyah is so nothing compared to Olam Abriya. And these are like neshamas of Olam Abriya. Yeah. What? Because everything has waste, which means everything receives a hashpah, it takes out the good, and it has to pass energy down lower. And that what it's passing down lower is called the waste. Yeah, it's a lower energy it's not for them, meaning it's too coarse for them to become their power, so it's transmitted to a lower place. So now he's going to explain, what does it say about the Oifanim? Oifanim misnasim barash gadol. We say in Shema, we say Oifanim v'chayis barash gadol. We say they make a big tumult, a big tumult. L'umas Seraphim, compared to the Seraphim, and the Seraphim don't make such a noise. Ki Seraphim oimrim kadosh 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 havayat tzavakos. He's going to explain that because the Seraphim have such intellectual capacity of understanding, that to a certain degree, their understanding kind of like calms them down. So even though they're called Seraphim, they're burning up, but they're burning up quietly. Because they have such a deep understanding. The Oifanim are called the ignorant malachim, compared to the Seraphim. They don't understand what's going on, but they know something awesome, something crazy is going on. And that's why they get very excited. And so there is more emotion visible by them than there is by the Seraphim. Seraphim are more lost. The Seraphim are about the Chabadniks, the Baalei Moichens, so they don't make such, you go into a Vishnitz shul, there is a lot more energy. They daven, you go to Vishnitz Mansi, I used to love davening. 100, 200 chevre davening, they're struggling and there's noise. And go to Chabad shul, I'm talking about when you have the Boivdim, even people are a little bit more lost in his blindness and contemplation. So sometimes that takes away from the fire, hopefully it leads to a deeper fire, but at least on the beginning it doesn't have that. So they find them have a maila. Their maila is that because they're lacking that great enlightenment, but they do have the excitement. So he says, they say 3 times Kadosh Hashem Tzavakos. So he's going to explain what is the hasaga from the malachim. What are the seraphim? What are they massing? What do they appreciate? What do they understand? Pirish. So he says, okay, let's take a look at the word. There's 3 times Kadosh, but then there's the word Hashem Tzavakos. What's Tzavakos? See, God of hosts. The word Tzavakos, the sages say, means Ois hu bitzava delay. He is a letter. He is one letter in his army. So what does it mean? He's a letter in his army. So basically, it means like this: the Shekhinah is the power that empowers all of creation, but the Shekhinah gives life to the creation through words, through speech. Vasara Mamaris, through 10 utterances, the world is created. But how is the world's created through speech? It's not really 10 utterances. It's really one letter that later gets translated into 10 utterances. It's one letter. Which letter? The letter Hey. Hashem gives one breath, and that's the power for all the worlds, including all the angels, all the Seraphim, the Chayas, Veifanei HaKodesh, and Oilamis, and which are way crazy greater, infinite, unbelievable, incomparably greater to the physical cosmos, to the physical universe. You're talking about worlds and worlds, all energized. The sum totality of all of existence is energized by one Hey, emanating from God. And that's what we mean. Tzavakois ois he is one letter. The energy of the cosmos, of all world, is one letter, B'tzava delay. In his armies, the power, the electricity, the energy that infuses all of existence is one ois of the Eibishter. But God himself, Kadosh, 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 transcends. And when the Malachim appreciate that, they go crazy. Because you see such an unbelievable, imagine standing at the very, very tippy top of creation and seeing the multitudes, the endless creation, seeing gazillion angels, and each one beautiful, each one perfect, and then seeing all the galaxies and the worlds and the stars and all the creatures that there are in the ocean and in the sea and everything in perfect harmony and it's all being invigorated, created with one. And he's totally beyond that. They say, wow, imagine if he invests a little more than just that hay. What it's like. Who is he like? So that's their hasag. So this is what he explains. I knew Shakol tzivei tzvoi shalamayla, all the armies of above. Elef alofim ligdud echad, thousands, which means millions, belong to one gedud, one troop. Ula gedudav ein mispar, and his troops have no end. As the sages ask a contradiction, in one place it says that there is no end to his armies. In the other place it says that there is millions in an army stand before him. So the Gemara answers, is it millions or is it no number? So the Gemara says, no, each battalion of Malachim has millions of angels. But how many battalions are there? Ein Sof, there's no end. And when you take this into a meditation, you can literally, your brain can explode. Because the sages say that one angel is a third of the world, or 3 times greater than the world. That means that the physical galaxies, the physical creation, is only a third of the energy that's in one angel. And how many angels are there? In one battalion, there's Elef Alafim, which is millions. And how many are those? Without an end. Literally, there is no number to how many. So you're talking about, it's crazy. So when one starts meditating on the vastness of creation, and then you realize that how much did God invest to create this all? One letter. And we're going to see soon, the letter that he used is the weakest of all letters, taking the least effort from meaning it has the least breath in it. That means it has nothing of God in it. When they perceive that, they go crazy. Because they really appreciate it. They all come into being and they're all receiving energy. Only for one letter. Like the pasuk says, when he created them, the sages take the word bihibarim and divide it into 2. Behei baram, with one letter hey he created them. Vahei ois kalila, and the hey is a light letter, the lace by meshasha, that doesn't have any substance. Kemavur ba'akdamis, as explained in the Akdamis, which is a piece of poetry that is said in Shavuos. Or Pirish asa kalila, and what does it mean? A light letter. Hainu shahevel halev, the breath of the heart. Hamislabish ba, that's enclosed in the letter hey. Humuet yoiser mikola oisiyos, is less than all other letters. And we can do an experiment. We'll do an experiment like this. We'll see and we'll see. There are 5 organs of speech. And each organ of speech delivers other letters. There is Aleph, Ches, Hey, Ayin. That's all one set. Aleph, Ches, Hey, Ayin, they come Mahagorin, they come from the throat. Bumf, Beis, Vav, Mem, Pei come from the lips. Bumf. Masvasai from the lips. Gimel, Yud, Kuf, Chaf, and Kuf. Machech come from, you feel, from the palate on the top of the mouth. And so on and so forth. Now, some that come from the teeth. Now, put your hand next to your mouth and say the letter Beis. B. 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 B has more energy than the mem. And so he's going to say an interesting thing. When you do the letters Aleph, Ches, Ayin, Hey, they have the least breath, than all the others. You omit less breath saying the aleph, the ches, the aleph, and the hey and the ayin, the least breath. From that set, the least of those is the hey. Hey has the least breath from all the other letters. That means even from this set, you'll see, you say aleph, say the u, ayin, what else is there? Aleph, ayin, ches. But then say hey, you hardly feel anything. It's less than all of them. You feel less pressure. And if you would be able to measure it with some kind of a breath measuring, you can. It's lighter than all the letters. The hevel, the breath that's in them, is less than other letters. From the palate, it has more breath. And the letter has less gamma oisius aleph ches ayin. Even from those in the same set, aleph ches ayin, it has the least breath. That's why it's called a light letter. It's very light to speak it. It doesn't have any substance. That it has very little breath. So we can apply this above to God as well, because we know that we are in the image of Hashem. In all letters that Hashem speaks, there is such a concept of godly letters, and those letters all have breath to them, as stated in Zohar Parshas Tazria. And the letter Hey is called the light letter that has the least breath. And from this, God creates, from this least investment, the least energy, Hashem creates all the heavenly hosts. He's an ois. He's one letter in the hosts and everything that He created. But the Eibishter's very self, who Kadesh Muvdal, He's separated. And how much is He separated? 3 times separated. That means He has to contract Himself 3 times in order even to be able to say that. Hey. He has to filter Himself. And that's Kadosh, 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 3 times Kadosh. Hem keneged gimel oisiyos. They correspond to the 3 letters that precede the latter Hey of Hashem's name. That Hey that becomes the source of that breath is the Shekhinah, is Malchus, which is Hashem's mouth, Malchus Peh, which is the source of that Hey. In order to get to that speaking, to get to Hashem's mouth, to speak, you need to first have 3 powerful tzimtzumim, 3 powerful letters. The letter Vav, the letter Hey, and the letter Yud, which are 3 descents that Hashem has to screen and descend from level to level, completely covering on Himself in order to get down to that breath. Which correspond to the first 3 letters of Shem Havaya. Shem Tzimtzum, which is contraction, which is the Yud. Vispashtus, and expansion. Acha achakach hamshacha, and then till you get to the hamshacha, which is the Vav. And through the Vav, b'bchinas Hey Tata, you finally get down into the lower Hey, Liyos behei baram, so that He can create them with that breath, with that Hey. And this is what it says afterwards. Pirish Maloi kala aretz kevoidai, because when one appreciates that, one realizes one very interesting thing. Since God so transcends all of His creation, He so transcends it, because again, everything, all of them are created from one tiny little infinitesimal crumb of energy that He emits. He creates all of them. So we can understand that within that crumb, there's no hierarchy to God. See, to us, the heavens are so magnificent, they're so awesome. Earth is so small compared to heaven. That's to us. But from Hashem's perspective, it's all created from that tiny little Hey, from that tiny little breath. So heaven and earth is absolutely equal. And that's why Maloi kala aretz kavoidai. For Hashem, it's not an embarrassment to be on earth, because it's no big honor to be in heaven to Him. Heaven is nothing and earth is nothing. So to Him, it's absolutely equal, heaven and earth. Otherwise, you have some kind of a feeling like, why would God care about what you do in your bedroom or what you do in your kitchen? Why? How can such a big God care? I understand if I'm a monk who's talking of the deep philosophies and deep abstract things, that what God would care about, the deepest secrets of the universe. But things like this, why would Hashem care? The answer is, why would He care about anything? He cares because He chooses to care. And if He chooses to care, the little things matter to Him, because the whole thing is little and small, and yet He cares about it because He decided to create it and He wants it and He cares about it. And yes, the tiniest little nuances of your life, what you're doing in the small little moments that you're doing in your own little home and your own little space, is infinitely important because He decided to go in there. And there's no business for Him in heaven to be more in heaven than on earth, because it's all equal, because it's all created from nothingness. That's what he's saying. In continuation to Kadosh, 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 Maloi Kala Aretz Kevodo. He's everywhere. Since He's removed completely, Be'erech Legamri, completely on a whole different level. Imken Shamayim va'aretz shem ruchnias v'gashmias. Heaven and earth, which represent spiritual and physical, Shavim Lefanav, are absolutely equal before Him. Ekenoida, Shehu Yisbarach Ein Soif, that Hashem is Ein Soif on three levels. Begimel bechinois, oilam shana nefesh. Time, space, and soul. In all three, the Eibishter is Ein Sof. Bechinas oilam, in world, in space, His kingship, which is that letter Hey, expands infinitely. It creates myriads and myriads of worlds, each world inhabited by myriads of angels, each one is bigger than the galaxies. And what? L'mayla adein kates, above, endlessly higher. In other words, if you're going to explore the worlds, you can explore and explore and explore and explore and never end. Ad ein kates. It literally never ends. Ulamata adein tachlis, and then go down, whichever level you go, there's even a lower level. You go lower and lower and lower. We happen to be at the bottom, but if someone is in the middle of this journey, he will go down, no end. Ubebchina shana, and in terms of time, He's also forever. Sha'atu achlei nivra olam, you're before the world was created. Umisha nivra, and from when it was created. Ula olam haba, and to the world to come. Beli gvul, and it's endless, it never ends. Ubebchinas nefesh, and then He's also infinite in the level of nefesh. Hainu bebchinas hasagas. Nefesh, souls, are the beings that perceive Him. So we're talking about the various different perceptions of Him, knowing Him, appreciating it, understanding it. How much can you perceive of Him? How much hasaga can you have? What's the end, or what's the measurement of knowing Him? The answer is Ein Sof. There is like, how many chambers are there in Gan Eden learning the same pasuk and understanding it? Endless, because it's God's Torah, it's infinite. There is Ein Sof Pirushim and Ein Sof Hasagas in knowing the Eibishter. This is the endless. So in space, in time, and in perception, as he says, this that the neshamas apprehend, elokusa yizbarach, the godliness, sheyesh kama mine hasagas, there's different types of hasaga, gavoya mal gavoya, higher and higher, be'ilui achar ilui, infinitely above and above and above, le'in kates, ki yadu, as it is known. Ulechein, and therefore, he, humaloi kol haaretz alazu atachtaina. So therefore he fills this lower earth, Hagashmias, just like the upper ones, because they're, again, Olam Esalyonim too, they're fixed, they're limited. And He's above, infinitely above this. So He can be wherever He wants. And where does He want to be? Down here on earth. Mamish. The truth is He's everywhere, but He has a particular pleasure in being on earth. Ani mamish. I'm mamish fil dafka. The kamei is barach in front of Him. Kula kalochshiv. They're all not mamish. Shamayim va'aretz b'ashva echas. They're all absolutely equally nothing. Sharei afa pikein. But leisa sarpanim in it. There's no place where He's not, because even in the space of the world, He Himself is there. The Eibishter's essence is there everywhere, because He's everywhere, and therefore, maloi kol aretz kavoidai, even on earth, it's not a contradiction to Him. Okay, so this is the perception of the malachim. Now the Srafim, they stand in a they are positioned in a very good place. Why? They have window seats. They are positioned at the very, very heights of creation. So, oim the mimal, they're standing in this very, very high spiritual place. Umasigim zeh, they see how all of existence is emanating from one breath. Kihem yesh lahem asaga v'das gadol. They have unbelievable knowledge. Lefi shehem ba'olam abriya, because they're in this world of bria, which is a world infused with intelligence. Bina resides in that world. So if you're living in that world, you're a super genius. You're an Einstein. Okay? Anybody, it's at the bottom. Okay? You're a genius of geniuses. It's because in that world is enclosed the Chachma Bina Das of Atzilus, the intellectual powers of the divine. So the creatures that are there are incredibly smart and intelligent. And what's their intelligence? They know their creator. Avalo Ifanim, but the Ifanim, they're layers below. They hear the echo from that higher world. Avalo Ifanim kishashoimim kadosh. Seems like there is some kind of interpassing of sounds coming from the higher world. Down here we're ignorant, we don't hear anything. But once you're in the ruchniistic world of Asiya, you can hear sounds from the higher realms of Olam HaYetzirah and from even higher from Olam HaBriya. So when they hear the malachim of Olam HaBriya, the Srafim saying, Kadosh, 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 Yotzem HaSrafim, coming out of the Srafim, Hemarishim B'Koil Ram, they go crazy. That's what happens. The Ifanim go berserk. V'rash Gadol, they start making a big noise. They can't grasp this. Their minds are not wide enough. They don't have the capacity to get what's going on. Because they're already in a far denser state in the world of Asiya, where you can't really, where things are already far more fixed. The world is far more something already. It's hard to see how everything is emanating from that hay. They're stationed on the earth. By them, the emotions are very strong because they don't have that calming effect of the mind. The mind is like when you're deeply intellectual, so the mind dominates, and at that moment when the mind, like you see even when a person gets excited, is learning something, at the moment that they're deeply in the thought, they're not yet excited about it. They start bubbling after they step out of it a little bit. So the Ifanim, they don't have that powerful. That's why it says by Yecheskel, Koila Mula, that Yecheskel Dafka is the Navi who's perceived in Olam HaAsiyah. The higher Malachim, the higher Nevi'im, they were in Olam HaYetzirah, Olam HaBri, but Yecheskel, his Nevuah wasn't, and that's why his Nevuah was a very noisy one. He heard Koil Machna, he heard the sound of a tumult, like a storm, like a powerful Machna, like an army. V'hainu, Mashakos, it says, Misnasim Le'umas HaSrafim. They get excited opposite of the Srafim. Shemisnasim L'mayla Ma'asrafim. But when they get excited, their passion and their fervor takes them higher than the Srafim, which means, that doesn't take them, they cause an energy, an elevating energy from below that's more powerful than what the Srafim produce. Their spilus of their midas, of their emotions is very strong. Mibis Rafim, then the Srafim. And that is Mishum Shasharsh. But the reason why they have that power is because the truth is, even though they are found, their place where they inhabit is down here, the root of their energy is from a higher place than this Rafim. So they're stationed in a lower place, and they don't have the information, the knowledge that the Srafim have. They don't have the capacity, but the root of where their spirits are taken is from an Ein Sof realm, much higher than where the Srafim are taken. Srafim are taken from a world of Oiros and Kalim, where Oiros and Kalim are commensurate with each other. That's why they have capacity. The whole point of the Srafim is they have Kalim, they have the vessels. But the Ifanim are taken from a world where the Oiros don't go into the Kalim, where the energy is not calable, it's infinite. That's why it translates in them being excited, having excitement that's not containable. So they explode with excitement. And that explosion is what really creates this powerful yearning from the earth, from the creations to God. And the infinite yearning of the creations to God is what pulls God in a stronger way into creation, that which the Srafim could have not have created. And that's what he's saying. What? Yes. Yeah. What is it? Kavod Hashem Mimkoima is cool. Bochim. Oh, yeah. They're crying. Wow, they're weeping for this light. They want more revelation. V'hainu be'emes, and the truth is, one second, they come from a higher place. They come from a higher place of this Raf. As it is known, it is also known that the root of a person's emotions is rooted deeper in a person's soul than a person's intellect. Even though the order of the way things evolve is from the intellect to the emotions, but we can see that emotions are more powerful than the intellect. And in Yiddishkeit, it's always a tremendous virtue that you can use your mind to excite your emotions, but there has to be a certain point where you allow the heart to take the lead. The heart should go ahead of the head. Because the head, it says clearly, it says, Leis machshavat tfisa. There's no thought that can grasp him, but it says the heart could grasp him. He's grasped in the deepest yearning of the heart, the Eibishter is, because the heart is rooted more in the infinite than the mind is. The mind is fixed. It needs to make sense of things. It needs to fit things in. The heart yearns, and it can yearn with an infinite yearning. And this is the idea of the Olam of Toyu, where we know that the lights were not fitting in the Kalim. And this is the idea where we say, is this whole idea of Olam HaToy was hinted to in the concept of Eila HaMalachim Asher Morchu. These are the kings that ruled Lifnei Malach Melech Lebnei Yisroel, before there was a Jewish king. What does it mean? It's talking about the children of Esav, that there were kings over there before. Shehem B'chene Zayin Malkin Kadmon. These are the 7 ancient kings. Shehem Zayin, which the Pasuk in Vayishlach describes 7 kings who lived and died. But the Arizal says that here is hinted to these powerful, godly Kalim that are called 7 kings that collapsed because the Kalim couldn't hold the light. It was too intense. Shem Zayim Midas El Yoinos, these are the 7 supernal Midos. Shem Lifnei B'chinas HaMoichin. They are prior and higher than the brain, than the Moichin. That's called B'nai Yisroel. Yisroel is the Oisius Li Roish, to me a head, which is the brain. The Jews are the brain of the world. But that's from the world of Tikkun, where everything, the Oiris and the Kalim are fit together. But the power really lies in something deeper than the mind. So these kings ruled before. Before means higher and on a level greater. And that's the emotions of the Oifanim, which are deeper and stronger than the intellectualization, than the intellect of the Srafim. But this is what happens. When they create this powerful commotion and this powerful energy, they cause all the worlds to rise, to receive stronger. What's the rising? They create yearning. It's probably like when you hear people crying, it evokes the emotions. When you hear singing and yearning, you get swept up with it. Their singing and their yearning creates a yearning in all levels, including the Srafim, and including the Kisei HaKavod, the throne of God, and the person that's on the throne, which is the 10 spheros, which is already God. It's already the manifestation of divinity, of godliness, no more creation. But that too is Oireis Bekalim, it's light in vessels, like we discussed so many times. Atzilus it's still lights and vessels, and it has a certain capacity. So, but it's deriving from the Ein Sof. But usually Atzilus is fixed, certain amount of energy. But as a result of the Oifanim, Achayis Noises as a Kisei, they cause the whole Kisei to rise with the Adam Sha'ala Kisei, which is all the spheros, the HaKadosh, the Shechina, and the level called HaKadosh Baruch Hu, all become open to the idea, frustrated with the idea that after all they have a limit, they're Kalim. Even HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which is HaKadosh, still has limitations. It has some Gedarim, and therefore it yearns for the Orein Saif, that which is beyond all description. And as a result of that yearning, a powerful infusion of new light comes in. And who creates it all? Sorry to insult them, the little shmendriks they found him, compared to the higher malach. And as it translates, how do the Efanim really get kicking? Our nefesh Bahamas. Because our nefesh b'hamis are derivatives, and this. Our nefesh b'hamis are also emotional, messed up beings. It's like excited about everything around it. It's constantly grabbing for things. It's an but it really has the capacity to love God with that emotion. And that's why that's the earth, the soil, that has all the power to produce everything. It's all in the nefesh b'hamis. That's where he's leading it to. So now, that even the demus ala adam that's on the kisei kine olam abriya, because olam abriya shu olam asrafim, which is the world of these serafim, nikra olam kisei. It's called the world of the throne. I hear this gavaldige inyan. Why is it called the world of the throne? Kisei, because the word kisei comes from the word case aleph. Case aleph means the aleph is concealed. Case comes from the word covered. Kisoya, cover. Also in English, case means to encase something. So case aleph means that the aleph is covered. Who's the aleph? Aleph is God. Aluf Eshalayim. So notwithstanding the great knowledge of the Srafim, they're also living in a distorted consciousness. Because had the full truth be revealed to them, they wouldn't exist. They would experience Ein Oid Milvadei, there's nothing but God. The only reason the Serafim can even exist and intellectualize and have all their knowledge and all their understanding is because the Eibishter is really covering his emes. In other words, as he can explain, they're not living in Yichud Yillah, in the higher Yichud. If you're living in the higher Yichud, there's nothing but Hashem. They're living in the Yichud Tata, the lower Yichud. What does the lower Yichud mean? It's that there is a creation, but the creation is batal to Hashem. We know there's two levels of Yichud. There's Yichud Yillah, Shema Yisroel, Hashem Lakeinu, Hashem Echad. Yichud Tata is Baruch Shem Kavod Malchus Ali Olam Vad. Two levels of unity. The lower Yichud is where you sense yourself as of somebody, but you recognize that God is the power in your life, and your batal te. Yichud Yillah is that you're Eibishter. You have no Metzias, you're just Him. And that's the consciousness of the world of Atzilus, is Yichud Yillah. The consciousness of Olam Abriya is Yichud Tata, the lower Yichud. And that can only come because case aleph, because the aleph is concealed. It's covering up the aleph, the chief of the world, which is the Eibishter. Master Allah, that it obscures and conceals it. And this is the lower yichud, which is the consciousness of Olam Abriya. They bow down to you, but there's someone bowing. They have a self that they're surrendering. Even though they're in a state of bittul. And they're bowing, nevertheless, there is someone that is batal. They have a self that's being batal. Because the malachim, the chol tzva ma'ila, and all their heavenly hosts, because they too are enclosed in bodies. Sandal, like the great malach sandal, he has a sandal that he's called Taf Kuf Shana. It says that his size is Taf Kuf Shana, is a measurement of 500 years. This was said about it. The fact that we give him a fixed size means that he has a body. Not the same kind of body like us. It's talking about abstract, but yet it's still some kind of a body. They're a third of the world. They're a third of 500. Which is 166. It says their body is like Tarshish, which is a certain type of a stone, marble, no sheshes marble, a Tarshish is a type of a stone. There's something there other than the Eibishter. Then even though he's batal and he's bowing, the very fact that he's a body and he's a somebody, that's a cover up on the Eibishter's emes. Which is the divinity, as it is. There's none but the Eibishter mamish. Last night I learned a piece from the Rebbe on Simchas Torah Tafshin Nun Beis. I was teaching Dvar Malchus. And over there the Rebbe is saying, it's frightening words, I never saw something like this. The Rebbe says that we have to start living already in the days of Mashiach. That means it's not enough to live in a state where Kol Masecha L'Shem Shemayim, that everything you do is L'Shem Shemayim. It's not even enough to live in the state of B'chol Derechecha De'eyu, that not only is everything you're doing for the sake of heaven. Imagine to be conscious in everything you do for the sake of God. Everything. And not only that, but Kol Masecha, It's not good enough to know Hashem in everything you do, but still, it's still your doing. It's still derchecha. You have to live already in a state that einoid milvadoi mamish, other than God, nothing exists. And everything is purely elikus. That's the Rebbe says, that's what we have to start living in, because we have to get accustomed to Mashiach. So we have to start living already in einoid milvadoi, in the consciousness of ani loy nivresi elo l'shamash es koini. I have no existence but to serve my Creator. I don't even begin to exist. My entire existence, 24/7, is only serving the Eibishter. And the Rebbe says, and it could, now the Rebbe says, I understand. He says, and now we can say that this is an explanation on the horrific delay of the Geula, that we can't explain why the Geula is delayed. It's perhaps lacking in the Jewish people this perfection in this avodah of Einoid Malvadai. That's lacking in their avodah, and that's necessary to enter into Mashiach existence, where that's going to be the consciousness of Einoid Malvadai. But the Rebbe says, but now we've accomplished that as well. But then he concludes, in the same breath, he says, on the one hand, he says it's lacking, and that's what's holding back the Geula. And then he says, but now that we've accomplished that as well, so now we're already ready. So I'm trying to think like at which point is that? But we accomplished that already. So what does the Rebbe mean by that? But about Koponim, you see from here, the fact that the Malachim have a Metzias, it's not Einoid Malvada, it's not Atzilus consciousness. It's already. But when Mashiach is going to come, down here, the Gashmiistic world is going to be in the level of Atzilus, totally unified. Olechei. Now, he says a Gavaldige Inyan. What is Atzilus? Where is their total perfect acceptance of Yechudi Allah, of the higher Yichud? There's none but Hashem. That's in the world of Atzilus. That's deeper, much deeper than the world of Bria. And Atzilus is only God, nothing but Him. Who is there a creature or a being that lived that way? Yeah, Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu was the example of someone who lived in Atzilus consciousness. And what did he say? V'nachnu ma. So we know that the world of Atzilus is permeated. What does ma mean? What are we? I have no being. So it says that the word ma has another meaning. It means it's the name of God that permeates the world of Atzilus. It's called Shem Ma, the name of 45. It's Yud Kei Vav Kei, Shem Ma, the name of 45. It's the name of God that when that name is revealed, everything there, everything in its path is Ma, has no being. How do you get to the name of 45? How do you get to the name of 45? You fill the haze with an aleph, and the vav with an aleph. It's called Milui Alf, and Yud is Yud Vav Dalet, and then Hey is Hey Aleph, Vav is Vav Aleph. So the Rebbe says like this. This is above the world of the Kisei. What's the Kisei? Olam HaKisei, Olam HaBriya is Case Aleph. Covers the Aleph. What's the world of Atzilus? It's permeated with the Aleph. Milui, it's filled with Aleph. In other words, when you filled with Aleph, with Alufay Shel Olam, when you filled with Aleph, then you're not in Olam HaBriya, then you're in the world of Atzilus. If you're not filled with the Aleph is blocking. Even if you're excited about the Aleph, but you're not consciously feeling the Aleph. And even if you're bowing to the Aleph, but you're not feeling the Aleph, it's because you're in case Aleph. The Aleph is you're in the world of Kisei, you're in the world of a throne to Hashem, but not totally one with Him. What did the Rebbe keep on telling us? That in order to bring Mashiach, we have to take the Goyla and bring the Aleph into the Goyla and make from Goyla, which is exile, Geula. Geula is when you bring the Aleph into everything. And then you'll make this world Atzilus. It's all about that Aleph. So he's saying, L'chein b'chinas v'nachnu ma shema hu b'milui alfin is in the milui of Alephs. And because that's above this state. Okay. So therefore, what are we finding out now? That even though the Srafim think that what? The Srafim think that they got it all. They're looking over there. They have the window. They have this. They're up there on top of the Empire State Building. They have you have that. I forgot what they call the place. Even see the whole world, see everything. But the emes is they're also in darkness because the very idea that they're excited, there's someone there, is a simon they're not. But through the Yofanim that are lower, and the Yofanim that make this tumult, they raise everybody up, also the Srafim. And where do they raise the Srafim up? Into Atzilus. In other words, they open everybody up to receive that Aleph. And the Aleph permeates all of creation. So the Al Yedei, listen to this. The Al Yedei Hasrafim, Vaydei Rash Gadol Shelo Yofanim, And through this tremendous tumult, the tremendous commotion made by the Yafanim that get excited because they don't understand, which rise up very, very high, even higher than the Srafim, they lift and they elevate also the throne, that is in Bria list, to be elevated even higher, till the Ein Sof will reveal himself in them in a revealed way, that they too will join in and live in the higher unity of being totally one with Hashem, and not to live in this concealment of kisei, of Kes Aleph. But now the Rebbe says, guess what? In this elevation, even Atzilus is also elevated. Atzilus is not living in the Kes Aleph, but still, it's living, Atzilus is also already in measured godliness, because it's vessels, it's containers. And the oil in the could be contained in the kalim. It's not the real level of Ein Sof. V'gam demus kamara adam, and even the image of the face of the man. Sha'ala kisei, when Yecheskel saw the chariot of Hashem, he saw that on the kisei there was a face of a man, which is an analogy, which is a mashal for the spheros of Atzilus. Now, over here he's saying it deeper. It's not just the spheres. It's the Torah. Torah is called Adam. Torah and mitzvahs, which is the godly structure of Atzilus. Shenekras Adam, like it's called Adam. Basically, what he's saying is like this. He's saying that we can learn Torah and we can do mitzvahs and connect to godliness. Torah and mitzvahs connects to God, infuses you with you're aligning your body with God's body. Hashem has 248 limbs. Those are the 248 mitzvahs. And when you're doing mitzvahs, you're aligning yourself with the Eibishter's body. And when you're keeping away from Averis, you're aligning yourself with even something deeper than the limbs, with the blood of the Eibishter, the 365 blood vessels. You're totally connected. But guess what? Your mitzvahs themselves need to be every day charged with a higher godliness, because even mitzvahs are also fixed. And a yid can do mitzvahs and do it like dryly and this. So you got the elokus of Atzilus, but that's it. But through Mesiras Nefesh, by Kriya Shema every day, Shema Yisrael, when the yid is burning up for God, he recreates Torah mitzvahs every day. Every day the Torah mitzvahs become a new Torah. It's a Torah that the Eibishter has given today. It's new oil, an infinitely higher light flowing into the mitzvah of tefillin, into the mitzvah of tzitzis, into the mitzvah of tzedakah, into the mitzvah of birchas hamazon. The mitzvahs are infused with a whole new vitality. Why? That's only if you connect, you lift Atzilus up into the Ein Sof. And how do you do that? Through a yearning heart. That's the whole point of davening. And primarily when you get your nefesh habahamis involved in that yearning. Because only the Nefesh HaBahamis can yearn with that excitement that's required, that's necessary over there. B'chol levavcha b'shnei yitzarecha, both of them together. Zois Torah Adam Eksiv, Zois Torah Adam, that Torah is called Adam. Ki Ramach mitzvahs say 200 positive commandments Shebet Torah, and B'chinas Ramach Evorim the Malka. These are the 248 limbs of the king. Kamoya Eiver, and what's the idea of it being a limb? Kamoya Eiver hu keli lamshachas achayos ma'nefesh. Just like a limb is a vessel for where the soul flows. Kacha mitzvahs, so to the mitzvahs, Hemchenes Ratzon Elyon, they're vessels in which the Eibishter's Ratzon is extended, and God and His Ratzon are one. So you're really getting an Amshacha where Hashem's Nefesh, Hashem Himself, the Oirins, Shenimshachu mislabish b'chol ma'isa mitzvahs, and where the Eibishter is enclothing Himself in every act of a mitzvah. V'shasa loisa say in the 365 prohibitions, Hemshasa gidim, these are 365 arteries. Marshal agidim, like a marshal of gidim of arteries, shebehem nimshachum espashet adam, which the blood flows through them. Shu ikr chayas hanefesh, which is the main chayas of the nefesh, more than the limbs. The blood vessels is the soul itself. Kishasa loisa say hem gevoyim v'yoyser nailam emchinas mitzvah say. The 365 prohibitions are higher than the 248 positive commandments. Kenoid al pasuk, as it is known on the pasuk, masha kasav zeh shemi. Basically, what he's saying is that the positive commandments, even though they're drawing on Hashem, it's only drawing on Hashem's name. But it's only drawing on Hashem's renown, his zichri, his remembrance. But the prohibitive commandments is drawing down Hashem's very name Himself. And a remembrance of someone and his personal name is different. Remembrance is like you call someone, he's known by that, but it's not his personal name. Then you have a very good friend knows a person by his personal name. So in the positive commandments, you're connecting to God's zichri, Hashem's, his fame, the way he is known, or whatever. Hashem said. V'zeh shemi v'zeh zichri. Shebemitzvahs loisa sehem bebchinas shemi. Loisa says are shemi. Why? Because I'll say like this. The word shemi is gematria what? Shin mem yud is 350. Plus, together with yudke is 365. So zeh shemi with yudke makes, the Zohar says. Zichri is gematria 237 plus 11, because plus the vav k, so it's 248. So the 248 is comprised from the vav k, and we know vav k is much lower than the yud k. So yud k is Shmi, is Hashem's higher name. Shmi im b'chinas yud k, pen Shmi im yud k haniki Shmi b'chinas sha'amar azal achalei nivra olam yahu shmoi. What Chazal say, before Hashem created the world, Him and His name are one. So it's something very personal to God. And that name reveals itself in the Yud and in the Hey of Atzilus. They're a lower level. Because again, it explains the Chassidus that why is a positive commandment lower than a prohibitive commandment? Because in a positive commandment, you're creating a vessel for godliness. So you're only reaching the level of the divine that is vesselable. You can't touch that which is abstract beyond all vessels. In a loisa say you're not doing anything. You're just refraining. So you're just doing a no. You're not doing. And therefore you can touch things that are not defined. We discussed it in many memoirs. We're not going to go over it right now. So a loisa say touches Hashem in a more transcendental, higher place. So in the positive commandments, you're getting a kind of a reflection from God. That's what you're connecting to. Zecher va'ara ba'alma, array. The loy shmai mamish, it's not mamish's name. That's the main mimer where we discussed this. We learned it, I think we learned that mimer actually twice. But even Zichri and even Shemi, even Loisa says, it's still only Hashem's name. It's His remembrance, or it's, as we said before, it's the limbs and the arteries. But then there's the Ein Sof himself, the Ein Sof himself, that's beyond all of this. In order to get him into the Torah, like it says by David HaMelech, that he was drawing, he was Mechaber HaKadosh Baruch Hu im Torah. He connected God himself with the Torah. He drew the Eibishter into Torah. It's higher than just Torah mitzvahs on its own. For that, you need to have the Oifanim. You have to raise the kisei together with the person that's on the kisei. Who's the person? That's the Torah. Because we said Torah is an image of a person, the limbs and the arteries, to the level of Loi Adam, to the Ein Sof. That can only come from a Jew who's a yearning heart. And from the Oifanim, same idea. Ukadelius Ein Sof Baruch Hu Dalav Mekol in its midas iu klal mamish mislabish b'pchinas ha'Torah shu b'pchinas Adam b'damachivarim, in these 248 limbs. It's through the Rash Gadol. In other words, just like the Srafim are upgraded through the Ifanim, even higher than the Srafim, the Adam Ma'elyon is also upgraded through the Ifanim. Ki ruach aisi ruach, because that's the rule. The deeper the yearning from below, the greater the light revelation from above. God only wants to come if we want Him. And the Ifanim, they have a capacity of yearning. That's what they have. And what's this power that they have? Like we said earlier, Adam is Olam Atikun. They come from Olam Atoyu, where the lights were not contained in vessels. It's higher from the level of Adam. It's only that they fell down because of the Shviras HaKelim, the sparks fell down. They came down lower. Like when a stone falls from the top of a wall, it falls. The higher stones fall lower. But when they lift themselves up, they berash gadol, They stimulate, they trigger something very, very high. Because their ruach, their desire of amshech ruach, draws down a ruach from above. They lift up the kisei, and even the person that's on the kisei can iskel, as we said before. We'll take a little break, and I was planning to finish Gimel and Dalid, but I think what I'm going to do is perhaps only. We'll see. Let's see. We'll have a little break, and we'll continue a bisl weiter in a few minutes. This is your chance if you want to cut and run. No. Okay, we're holding over here in Parag Gimel. They found him say, blessed is, what do they say? In other words, what we know they're yearning for. What do they say? They say a statement. Baruch kvoid Hashem emekoymai. Hashem's glory should be blessed from his place. Baruch hu mimekoymai. Baruch hu. What do you mean Baruch hu? Baruch hu hamshacha mehelim alagilim. Sorry. Baruch is a hamshacha. The word Baruch, when you're saying Baruch, we learn Baruch means more than blessed. Baruch means you should be drawn from the word brecha. Brecha means a pool of water that flows. So Baruch means is a hamshacha me'elam alagilu. It's from the concealed to the revealed. And what are they asking? So they're basically requesting that God should be revealed from his place. What is the emphasis from his place? So first of all, let's see what it means kavod. Baruch, they want, it should be drawn down. Kavod Hashem. What's kavod Hashem? The word kavod is Gematria 32. Kavod is lamed beis. Yeah, Chaf and beis is 22. Vav is already with another vav, 6 is 28. Plus Dalet is 32. So kavod is 32. So these are what's called kavod Hashem. Kavod Hashem are the 32 pathways of wisdom. Now here's the idea. The highest peak of, if we can say, creation, or even higher than creation. The highest peak in Seder Hishtalshalos, in the order of evolving worlds, and the highest peak is Chachma. Chachma is the first sphera in the first world. Higher than Chachma is already Ein Sof. There's no worlds, it's Ein Sof. I mean, subtle, there is worlds, but generally we say worlds begin in Atzilus Chachma. So Chachma is the point of the highest and deepest truth that of God, the Einod Movad, that is nothing but him. What the Oifanim are asking is, Baruch Kvoid Hashem, let that Chachma energy, that Lamed Beis, those 32 pathways of wisdom of Chachma, where the full emes of the Oirin Soif is felt, let that come down, let that flow lower and lower and lower throughout the entire evolving order of worlds, all the way down to the world of Asiya, where the Oifanim are. Let that emes that's felt in Chachma of Atzilus be felt down here. That's what they want. Lamed Beis Nasivas HaChachma B'Gematria Val Zeh Omar Baruch She'ei Nimshach B'Chenes Kavod. Let it be drawn down, this Kavod, Lamed Beis Nasivas HaChachma, these 32 pathways of wisdom, Mim Mekoymo Ya'elyon, from its supernal place, from up there, to make its way down here. Lias Mizgala B'Chachma Shalamata. That it should be revealed in the lower Chachma. What does it mean it should be revealed in the lower Chachma? There's another level of Chachma. There is higher wisdom, which is the Chachma of Atzilus. I'm assuming we're going to see it's Torah. It's higher wisdom. And then there is lower wisdom, the wisdom of creation. Chachmas Maaseh Bereishis. It can translate later into, it translates after many Hishtalshalos into the knowledge, the sciences, all secular knowledge. That's later. But here, even the lower level of wisdom is very, very holy. But it's the Chachma of Bereshis, Chachma of creation. What is it? It's the difference between Chachma and Malchus. Malchus is also called Chachma. Chachma at the beginning and Chachma at the end. The special connection between Chachma and Malchus, because we know that in the Spheros there's a family. Father, mother, son, and daughter. Malchus is daughter. And we know that there is a special connection between father and daughter. Abba Yasid Brata, the father, foundation of the daughter. So in somewhere in Sefer Yetzirah it says Chachma B'Roish, Chachma B'Soif. It's Chachma at the beginning and Chachma in the end. But there's two different levels of Chachma. One of them is a pure Chachma, in which it doesn't hide any truth. It gives you the full emes. That's Chachma Ilah, the higher Chachma. Chachma Tata is a Chachma that's meant to conceal and obscure the truth, and it gives you already a wisdom, but in a wisdom that's covering on the emes. Because the Chachma of Malchus is the Chachma of creation. It's As we said earlier, creation, by the very notion that there is a creation, is already a cover on the emes. Both of them are called kavod, but for two different reasons. One is called kavod because it's revealing the Eibishter's true kavod, the true emes of the Eibishter. The other one is called kavod because the Rabbi Yochanan used to call his garments mechabdusi. Those are honor me. Because when a person is honored based on the clothing they're wearing. And a person wears it. You want to be treated well, dress well. So you dress well, people will because until people get to know you, of course. In the beginning, when I make a good impression, you dress well, you get. So Rabbi Yochanan would call this clothing is mechabdus. What do you see from here? Clothing, on the one hand, helps you present yourself, but on the other hand, it covers you. What's clothing? It's a concealment. So the malchus is called kavod because it's a garment. It's a cover on the Eibishter. It's not allowing the truth, the emes of the divine to be seen on the other side of malchus, which is in the creation. So let's see it inside. And what we're asking for, what the Ifanim are trying to do, is they're getting that the higher kavod should infuse the lower kavod. That the lower kavod, the lower wisdom, should become infused with the higher wisdom. They should become unified, and then the creation will not block anymore. It's almost like being able to merge the science with Torah. That both of them should come together. You should see within the world, you should see the truths of the Torah. That idea. Kavod means a garment. Rabbi Yochanan, he called his garments mechabdusa, those who honor me. Now the lower level of chachma, b'chinas lavush v'kisoy. It's a lavush and it's a kisoy. Now why dafke is chachma? You have to ask a question. Why is malchus, the chachma of malchus, called a lavush, a garment? Say malchus in general is a concealment. Why is there's a special concealment in the chachma of malchus, in the wisdom of malchus? It's a simple question. Why dafka the chachma of malchus, which is called kavod, is a lavush? So he says, yeah. Sometimes being too smart is not too good. Because dafka, the smartness, creates arrogance. And arrogance is the block that I was going to explain over here. The kisoy master olakusi is barach. It conceals the Eibishter. Kamoisha anu royim b'chush. We see literally that. That in a sense, the animal world is more in tune with God than the human world. In what sense? A behema is not too smart. An animal, a cow, doesn't have chachma, and seichel. He bebechinas bittul yaiser, is more humble, more bittul. Now, in a sense, the Rebbe is saying the animal is that way. You'll say, well, he's a behema. He's such an idiot, you can do with it whatever you want. He just doesn't. He's not smart enough to defend himself. No, in a sense, he's smarter than you. He's closer to the truth than you because he's not so smart. Really, we should all be bittul. What do we think we are? We make ourselves into a ganze metzias because we're less in tune with the emes. The behema is not conscious of the truth of God, but he's also not arrogant. And why is he not arrogant? Because he doesn't have seichel. And the lack of seichel allows him to be more of a behema, and in a sense, be closer to the truth and having more bittul. So of course, a behema is much lower than a person. But in a certain aspect, he's higher because he has more bittul. And the bittul state is a truer state. When we are battle, we're like an animal, in the positive sense. What's keeping us from the bittul of the cow? Our seichel. What he's basically saying, seichel creates self-awareness. Self-awareness is that separation from God. And the animal doesn't have self-awareness. And that's why he has greater bittul. He's part of a greater universe, of a greater force, instead of being more in tune with his individual self. And the intellect makes you self-conscious, like we find by Adam and Chava, that once they ate from the tree of knowledge, they became self-aware, and become self-aware, they became more in touch with themselves, but as a result of that, disconnected from God. Like you find that even a child can rule over cows. Even though the cow is so much bigger than the child can take charge over the cow, and the cow will listen. Because it's naturally humble. Adam, which is in the case of a person, shafil tinuk, even a little child is already, even if he's not, even when he's a human being, since essentially a human being is an intelligent being, even a child can be arrogant. Yesh by teva his nasus likes to be a big shot, and he likes to, make himself stronger than everybody else. The Yisroel he wants to be the boss. Fishu bal seichel, because he has intellect. Ki seichel hu oisa lebchenas yesh v'davar. The seichel makes a person into a yesh, into something. In Chassidus, we also know that way. That sometimes it's better to hang out with the pashat Chassidim, with the simple Chassidim, than the big bali seichel. It pumps ego, and when there is ego, it blocks the emes. And the simple Yidden, the simple Chassidim that are not so big understanders, but they have a heart and they have a simplicity and a certain emes that they connect to. The fishu kisoy levush hamaylam, because seichel is a levush, it's a concealment. Umaster es bechinas ha'ayin. It's already acting as a filter. It's concealing the nothingness, which means the creative power. Shal yedei zeh haya bitl, which through the ayin, because the world is created yesh mi'ayin. That's why intrinsically, if the yesh senses the ayin, that it comes from absolute nothing, and there's meaning from a power of God, but not it's batal. So the seichel creates a certain disconnect between the ayin and the yesh, that the yesh should not feel the ayin; he feels himself, and therefore is a ki chachma, because chachma zu, this chachma hu b'chinas eitz hadas toivera. This is not the good chachma. This is the chachma of eitz hadas tovera. Your eyes will open up. You'll be like whatever. No good and bad. So that's the chachma coming from Malchus, which creates this, and that's why we find that the biggest, most arrogant people are the intellectuals, the college professors, what we call them the intellectual elites in the United States of America. They are the farthest from the truth, and they are the biggest heretics and non-believers, and they're at war with God, and they're fighting the war today against anything moral and holy in the world. Is all being fought by these college intellectual elites that think that they have no sense of humility and a sense of bittul to the Eibishter. They're lacking that. And this is what the request is that we're asking for. But this very different than that is the Chachma of Torah. The Chachma of Torah, when you learn it, it humbles you. It doesn't turn you into if you're learning Torah correctly, it's possible that a person learns Torah with the wrong approach, and the Torah itself can also make him arrogant. But when someone learns Torah in a way that he's connecting to the holiness of the Torah humbles the person. It's a different quality of knowledge. And this is what they are asking. So what the Oifanim are requesting is that the higher Chachma, the Lamed Beis Nesivos HaChachma, pathways of wisdom, should be drawn from its supernal place, which is the higher Chachma, which is also Chachma. But that v'nikra kavod, and it's also called kavod. Miloshin lavush, it's also a lavush, but it's a different type of a lavush. It's a see-through lavush. It's not a thick garment that covers and obscures. It's a garment that sometimes you just need a garment because you can't take something, you can't grab onto something because it's too abstract. So you need something to give it a little. For example, I'll give you an example. The Yidden in the Midbar were being nourished by God. By lakus, by getlichkeit. They weren't being nourished by food. They were being our lechem and Hashomaim, which is really a gili lakus. It's like when in Olam Haba we're going to be nurtured by the ziv hashchina. That's how the Yidden in the Midbar were. But you can't eat ziv hashchina, so it needed to take on. It went into man, and the man became somewhat of something physical, just enough that they should be able to capture that getlichkeit and eat it. And that's why it didn't have any waste, and it right away turned back into spirituality as soon as they ate it, and so on and so forth. So the similar to that is Ein Sof. Is Ein Sof. It has no, so it has to go into Chachma. Once it goes into Chachma, it gives it a little bit of a tfisa. But still, Chachma, Ilah, the supernal Chachma, is transparent. It's a lavush but it's a very, very transparent lavush in which you sense the ayin. That's why, quite on the contrary, from chachma, from the level of chachma, is where the ultimate experience of einoid milvada, koyach ma, the power of what? The deepest and highest bittul is in chachma. Ezo chacham, haroya es hanoilad. A chacham is someone who can see how all of existence, the yesh, the substance of the world, has no yeshes, has no existence at all. Hanoilad, it's being created and being born every second from absolute nothingness. That's the real madrega of chacham. That's the higher wisdom. But the lower wisdom, the wisdom of Malchus, which is at the bottom, which is meant to create a barrier between Hashem and the world and give the world a sense of beingness, a sense of yeshes, for a purpose, because Ein Melech B'lo Yam, the world needs to be a yesh. But Malchus has that chachma, which creates a different kind of a chachma, an intelligence that makes you into a wise guy, into a smart person, into a knower already, which comes along with self-awareness. And that self-awareness, Adarabah, is a source of corruption and a source of distancing. Now, the avoid, what the Ifanim are trying to do is they're trying to match up the Chachmei Beroish to Chachma B'Soif. They want to Baruch Kavoid Hashem, the true Kavod. Kavod, we said before, is Lamed Beis Nesivos Chachma. They want to draw down the Lamed Beis Nesivos Chachma, the emes of Atzilus and the emes of Chachma of Atzilus, to permeate also in the three lower worlds, all the way down in Olam Asiyah. So again, V'nikra Kavod Malashon Lavush. Chachma is also called Kavod, which is Lavush. Kugam came B'chinas Lavush. It's also a Lavush. Le'ein Soif Baruch. It's a Lavush to the Ein Soif. Sheba v'al Yada. With it and through it. Mislabish ba'olamos. Without Chachma, the Eibishter has, there's no way for him to be mislabish. It's the first riskeli where the Eibishter can enclose himself. V'ayim mashakasav v'ramaz b'pashas b'midbar b'inya melech ha'kavod. But this is all the higher level of kavod. Like it says, b'chachma yasad eretz. Chachma is the foundation of eretz. Abba yasad brata. But now there's a connection between the two. Iksiv marabu masecha Hashem lefisha kula b'chachma asisa. That no, he's just proving from here that through chachma the Eibishter is mislabish in the world. Chachma yasad eretz. He finds malchus, which is called eretz, through chachma. And Abba yasad brata, as we say. Iksiv marabu masecha Hashem. How great are your actions, Hashem? Kulam b'chachma. Because without chachma, there's no keli at all. In order for it to come into the realm of finite, to create within the finite, it needs to pass through chachma. It's not a lavush that's concealing. But it's even a physical clothing there is that way. There is a sackcloth. When someone dresses themselves in sackcloth, the sack is not expressing them, it's covering them, concealing them. And then there is fine clothing that bring out the person. Right? So, the Eibishter shines in Chachma. Hashem wraps himself in light like a garment. So we're talking about light. Light is not blocking. It's just something to be able to... This lavush is shining like light. Chachma comes from ayin and it senses the ayin. It has the highest level of bittul, l'pchinas ayin to the ayin. From there is where it comes from. It's not arrogant chachma like we spoke before of scientists and so on and so forth, secular sciences and so forth, that create a certain arrogance and self-importance in the people that have it. This true chachma, it says, he sees how all of existence is created from absolute nothing. And this is the bakasha from the Ifanim. That the kavod of the avaya should be nimshach. That this higher chachma, and this higher bittel, should also reveal itself below, the chachma shalamata and the chachma below. That also it, which means in Malchus, in the lower Chachma, loy tia masteres, she too should not be master anymore and conceal anymore. That even throughout Seder Ishtalshalus, as we go lower and lower and lower, and the thicker worlds, which give off an appearance, chas v'sholom, as if there is something other than Hashem, they too should become mezuchach. They too should become purified and refined. Even in our physical eyes, how all before Hashem is not, as Hashem sees it. Hashem sees how everything is canceled to him, how everything is not, because nothing has any existence even for a split second without Hashem contributing existence to it. So now, this inyan, just like it is in front of Hashem, it should also be sensed in us. This koyach of ma, she'ein sham hester panim, where there is no hester panim. V'kach gam lamata, so too below, lo yalim v'lo yastir. It shouldn't conceal and it shouldn't hide anymore. Like it's going to be when Mashiach comes. Like it was before we became smart. When we ate from the Eitz Hadas, we became smart. And that self-awareness caused us to become distant and from the Eibishter. They're dafka, the ones who say Baruch. See, what do they find? They find them are living in darkness. They find them are frustrated that they don't see the bittul. Because they don't see the bittul, they're calling out Baruch. They're begging Baruch Kavod Hashem Em Koimai. And as you said before, the word Baruch Hashem Kavod Hashem Em Koimai is Rosh Tevis. What is it? Boichem. They're crying. They're crying for light. They feel their ignorance. They feel they're in the dark. They can't stand this concealment. The Srafim over there are not saying that. The Srafim are happy. They're saying, Kadosh, Kadosh, Hashem Tzavakos, Meloi Kalaretz Kavayda. Hashem fills already everything. They're not asking for anything. That's why we can't use them, because they're satisfied. And the same is also with the same idea that we're learning over here, the dynamics of the Nefesh Elokis and Nefesh Bahamas. Nefesh Elokis is satisfied. Nefesh Bahamas is in the dark. So when you get the Nefesh Bahamas involved, he gets frustrated with this darkness. Nefesh Elokis is happily living happily in Gan Eden. Felt him garnished. He's happy. You need to get the Nefesh Bahamas involved. That's the whole point. You get the Ifanim involved. So Aval Asrafim Oimin Maloi Chalaretz Kavoide. Lefi Shehem Bebriya. They're living in the world of Bria. Ve'ema Makana Nebekursai. Okay, it's not the Gilui of Chachma, but it's the Gilui of Bina. And in Bina we know, Ema Bina Makana, she rests, she dwells Bekursai in her nest, which is Oilam Abriyas, where Bina shines. And Bina and Chachma, two friends that don't separate. So in the Bina there is the Chachma. So there have Ve'yesham Gilui Elokusei Yisbarach. There is godly revelation. Umasigim Eitiv, and they understand really well how the Eibishter fills the whole universe. And that God, they think they know. They don't feel it really, because if they would feel it really, what did we say earlier? They would be totally bottle. But at least they're in a state of the lower bittul at least, so they see. But they find them that are in a much darker world, where there's a lot of concealment. It's not even physical. But still, it's a lot of concealments already. They require this bakasha, that the kavod of the Eibishter should reveal himself, because the smartness of the lower worlds conceals and blocks canal. And even though in front of God everything is nothing, even asiya, that's only by the Eibishter. But to the creations, the world seems to be very important and a very big something. This is their request. The higher chachma should be drawn down, and that bittul should be drawn down lower. But now, where is it coming from? We explained the three words, Baruch Kvoid Hashem. But what the last word we didn't explain it. Mimakoimai, from his place. What's the emphasis? That it should be drawn mimakoimai. So the Nakuda is like this. Chachmei Allah is very cozy in being in Chachmei Allah. For Chachmei Allah to get out of itself and to go reveal itself to a lower place, it needs something higher than Chachma to push it down. That's the rule. The Mashpia never goes to the Makabel unless there is a higher Mashpia that pushes him. Take a look. The Rebbe sent out thousands of people, shluchim, to go around the whole world and be Mashpia to people. Become rabbis, teachers, inspiring for communities. These people would never have done it had they not have a Rebbe who pushes them to go there. They need a higher mashpia to influence the lower mashpia to go. So in order for Chachma to go out of its comfort zone and lower itself down into Malchus, like the Pasuk says, Chachmois b'chutz taroina, that Chachma should go chutz, it should go outside, into the lower, the Torah should lower itself down to our world, to enlighten our world with bittul. For that, the Torah itself, or the Chachma itself, needs to be touched by something higher than Chachma. And that's the light of Keser. And that's the meaning of Baruch Kavod Hashem, Mimkaima is higher than Chachma. The source of Chachma has to be revealed in Chachma to stimulate the Mashpia to go down. And this Hamshacha is from a level higher than Chachma, from the Orein Sof itself. Again, Chachma is the Orein Sof already in a container, in a lavush. It's a very pure container, but it's still a container. Higher than Chachma is the Orein Sof without a container, pure. So the Hamshacha to cause Chachma to go down is from Orein Sof. V'zeu Baruch Kavoy Davaya, Mim Mekoyme, from his place. Kipirish Mekoyme, what does Mekoyme mean? Hainal Derech Aye Mekoyme Kavoydai. So he learns, the Aye you can learn as a question. Where is the place of his kavod? Or you can read it as a statement. Aye, Aleph, Yud, Hey, Mekoyme Kavoydai, that's the place of his kavod. Which means, where does kavod come from? Where does Chachma come from? From Aye. Aye, Aleph is Keser. Keser, Yud, K. Yud, K is already Chachma Bina, but it's all as, in the word Aye, the Yud and the Hey is still included in the Aleph, in a very high place. What's the source, the root of kavod? Ubchenas Aye is the level of Aye, she'einoi musikla, which is not at all grasped. Ki kvoidoi hainu midas malchusa yizbarach. Kvoidoi itself is malchus. B'chachma tata, that's in the lower chachma. V'sharsha b'chachmila, like we said earlier, in the shirish of the lower chachma is in the higher chachma. But even higher, v'gam l'mayla ma chachma, and it's even rooted in higher than chachma, in Keser. B'zeh inyan hamelech HaKadosh. Dafka these days we say hamelech HaKadosh. We're talking about malchus as it is in its shirish. What's the shirish? We know Abba Yasid Brata. Chachma is the foundation of the daughter. Malchus comes from chachma. But really, it's even higher than that. It's even deeper than that. Malchus is really rooted in Keser, which is higher. Hamelech HaKadosh. Hamelech as he is in Kadosh, in the most transcendental state. That we say in Aseres Yemei Tshuva. V'hu b'chinas Keser Elyon, that's the higher Keser. The EU Keser Malchus, which is Keser Malchus, page Ayin Hey, second column, a little bit before Perek Daled. Okay. V'oifanim al yedei arash Godol, and the Oifanim, through this big Rash Godol, through this tremendous commotion that they make, because of what they don't understand. They feel that the Serafim, they hear from the Serafim that there's a Gevaldig, that the Eibishter is so unbelievable. And they get excited, and they're yearning for light. Oimrim, they say, Baruch Kavoid Hashem, Mimekoimoi, emphasis, Shemamshichem Mepchenas Aye. They draw down from the Aye, Mekoim Kavoid, the place from where Kavoid comes from. Kavod is Malchus or Chachma. Ultimately, it's coming from Keser, which is the Ayin. Chachma is called already Yesh compared to Keser, which is the Aye. Aye, you say, what is it? Because you don't know it. Keser, you can't know. Less Machshavat Fisabeh. It's Ein Sof. So, but they draw down Mamish, the Aye itself. That's what they draw down. Masha Einoi Musik, that which is not grasped. Sheyeh b'pchenas Baruch, that should come down. V'nimshach li is Gili Chachma Elah Lamata Mamish. That the Chachmi Allah should come down below. For who Inyan, and this is the idea what we were learning at Osa Shabbos in the morning. Maayon mi beis Hashem yoytzeh. So here's the idea. It says the Mashiach will come, the Maayon will come out of the house of God. The Hishkan, it will give to drink as Nachal Shittim, the valley of Shtus, the valley of Shittim. So we learned that how do you enlighten the valley of Shtus? What's the valley of Shtus? The valley of Shtus is basically what we were talking till now. We're talking about lower worlds that are not batel. But as you go really, really, really downstream, you go all the way down, you start entering into the realms of klippas, and so on and so forth, where you mamish are dealing with real terrible shtus, real narishkeit, denial of God, and so on and so forth, and all kinds of immorality and all that. It's all because of the darkness. Mashiach will come, even the Nachal of Shittim, even Hollywood, which is the Nachal of Shittim, will become enlightened. As we say, it will turn into Hollywood, it will have a godly consciousness. How do you get the Nachal of Shittim? So you have to have a Maayon. That's our Maayon over here. Beis Hashem Yoytze, Fetbrengen, we're on the same block as Hollywood. But it will go out and it will give to drink. But what's the godlier meaning on a much infinitely higher level? It says like this: the stream of consciousness to the world comes from Chachma. Chachma goes to Bina. That stream is not the Maayon itself. It's the water coming from the Maayon that's going out. And that kind of water, by the time it gets down here, it's already dark. The klipa is already too strong. In order to fix it, we have to draw down that it shouldn't just come the water. You have to bring the Maayon itself outside. That's what Chassidus always says. The Rebbe always says, you have to bring the Maayon itself chutza. You can't just bring the water from the Maayon chutza. Bring the Maayon itself. Maayon is the spring. You have to bring the spring itself. When you bring the source itself, it will flood everywhere. That's this idea. Okay, that's the idea of being mamshech mim mekoymoi, from its place, from its source. The Maayon itself has to be nimshech. In order to draw down this gili of this Maayon, shu chachmi Allah, which is chachmi Allah lamata, because chachma we always know is called Maayon and bina is called Nohar, a river. In other words, chachma itself would not leave unless something is pushing it. So you have to have amshacha from higher from chachma. Gamma chachmi Allah, something even greater than chachma. That in order to get chachma to go outside, chachma usually stays inside. In order for chachma to go outside, it needs from a higher place. Ein sham. And who is mamshechit? Dafka doifanim. Because they are so thirsty. They rise up higher. Adruma mailas canal. In their yearning for light, they go to the highest places. Like we learned earlier that the Ifanim, even though they're the lowest malachim in Olam Asiyah, they're rooted in the highest. That when you want to produce a crop, you can hire workers, but you won't produce that much. When you hire some oxen to work, some tractors, today they use tractors, they used to use oxen. You get the ox to work with the people, the ox has a lot of power, more than the person. That means that the Ifanim, which are the oxen, they have bigger power. Or translated into our life, it means our Nefesh HaBahamis has more power than our Nefesh HaLekis. Tremendous tvuah, added me'ein sof baruch hu mamish, literally from the ein sof. So you know what? Let's just finish Sif Dalet. It's very important because it flows together. So once we've described how the Ifanim have this extra power, over the malachim that are called Srafim, the intellectuals, even though the Srafim are in a much higher world, we can't compare Asiya to Bria. It's a double, two worlds above. Ifanim Basiya, it's like incomparably higher. Yet the lower Ifanim have a much greater power. So the same will also be understood in the Nefesh HaBahamis. The animal soul compared to the godly soul. Because the animal soul, the vivifying soul, the one that gives him physical life, comes and it's taken from the Ifanim. It's from the face of the ox. Remember we said that the Ifanim too have 4 faces. From the face of the ox of the Ifanim Kanal. It has tremendous power. It has potential to create such a fire, a rash, such a commotion. Much more than the godly soul. Because in its root it's higher. It comes from the Olam HaToyu, which were the kings, Oiros without Kalim, remember we learned that earlier, that are higher than the kings of Bnei Yisrael, which is Olam HaTikun, which is where the Neshama comes from. This is the whole idea of Esav being the Bnei HaGadol, greater than Yaakov. Olam HaToyu comes first. And since the Ifanim are from that which was fixed from Olam HaToyu, Al Nikra Rash Gadol, because they come from the big world. See, Olam HaTikun is called Olam HaKatan. And Olam HaToyu is called Olam HaGadol, a big world. Because remember we said, then what happened? Hashem created Kalim. The Kalim couldn't, and he gave them bigger light. Gadol, bigger light. Light couldn't handle it. And they broke. So from those shattered vessels comes Esav, and he's called Bnei HaGadol, and so on and so forth. Then he what did he do? He set a second set of vessels. And what he did was he made the oil be commensurate with the Kalim by reducing the lights. That's called katan, small. So it's much less. So dafka the Ifanim, which come from this, ultimately, their derivatives, they can create Rash Godol. And dafka, our nefesh Bahamas can create the Rash Godel, our nefesh Lekis. Our nefesh Lekis can sing like a hummingbird, beautiful, but it doesn't have that roar like the lion. Our nefesh Bahamas got. But here's the thing: nefesh Bahamas is useless if you don't harness it. He's an incredible behemoth, just like an animal. You have a bull and you feed him all day and you spoil him all day. He's good for nothing, bum. Nothing. He's a bull. He takes a garnished. All he does is he makes whatever on the floor. That's what he does. Garnished mare. He doesn't have any other production. Unless you harness him. If you put him on a yoke and a thing, and he's guided by a human being, then he can be the unbelievable producer. He can produce food for the entire village. The whole village can eat from one bowl, from his plowing the fields. Same as our Nefesh Bahamas. Leave him to his own devices. That's all he can produce is what the cow can produce. That's all he does. And tights are garnished, and narnished. All he does is makes a mess. He's a destructive creature. But if you harness him, if you have the Nefesh Lekis guiding this animal, which is the Nefesh Bahamas, he can use dafka, the Nefesh Bahamas, to produce unbelievable things that the Nefesh Lekis on its own can't produce. And because it fell down very low, you can't reveal this bechina shabbat that it has intrinsically. It first has to surrender itself completely to the godly soul. That she should ruin it. In other words, the animal doesn't get free rein to get whatever it wants. The godly soul restricts it and restrains it and directs it to only partake in physical things that it needs to serve the Eibishter. And through that it refines it, and then it can educate it and eventually bring it to have this desire. He got to direct her, la toisa, and to tilt her to the right direction. There's the tachlis of the descent of the neshama, like it says in Tanya, that the neshama didn't come down for itself; it came down to educate the animal soul. And this is like it says in Zoyar, to cause the tzaddikim to do tshuva. What does it mean? The neshama is a tzaddik. And the tzaddik, the problem with the tzaddik is because he's always close to Hashem, he doesn't really have such a fire. So it says the ultimate job of Mashiach is to cause the tzaddikim to do tshuva. The tzaddikim will get the fire of the Baal tshuva. Baal tshuva has a greater desire. But spiritually, really, in a certain sense, this happens in every person. The neshama is a tzaddik, and the neshama comes down into the body so that it can become a Baal tshuva, which means it can join along with the animal soul that's yearning for God, and through that the neshama also yearns with that powerful yearning that it could never yearn with on its own. Because neshamas, when they're above, they're all tzaddikim. Their nature is to go up to the Eibishter. Some begufos and the descendant, the bodies of Bechdelius Baal Tshuva, in order to become a Baal Tshuva. What is a Baal Tshuva? To bring someone from the far. The moshchen lei b'chele yatir. And we know that the Baal Tshuva has got energy because he's so far, he's moshchen lei, he's pulling to the Eibishter with added vigor, with added strength. They cry out, like we explained, the mile of a Baal Tshuva is that he cries. B'rash Gadol, with a tremendous rash, machmas ha'hepech ki yadua. Because of the opposite, because he's so far. And so it needs to be literally the midah of every person. Even someone who'd never sinned, he still has to become a Baal Tshuva. Because in every person it says, Kol Yamav B'tshuva, that all of his life a person should be B'tshuva, even if you never sinned. Like it stated earlier, in the idea of a Ruach Toshav, that the spirit should return. And what's the returning? V'harash. How do you become a Baal Tshuva if you never sinned? V'harash, and the rashu machmazeh gufa. The very fact that the neshama left Gan Eden and went into a nefesh Bahamas, into this dark consciousness, this itself darkens the neshama, even if a person is a tzaddik. And this itself creates within the tzaddik a yearning to go back to the closeness that it had earlier. V'harash gufa. From this itself, minei ubei, from this very, very disconnect, Lish de Bay, use that to knock a nail, like the Gemara says that from the forest itself, you produce the hammer to knock the axe to knock down the trees. So in this case, is from the very distance itself, use it to your advantage. Take the distance and turn it around and say, now I can use that to yearn with a deeper yearning. When a person will contemplate Oitzim yeridas nafshe kol kach lamata mata. How much is the neshama descended below and below? And the srach kom matzila, and she was distant from her emanator. Ashahu yizbarach hu the Eibishter is kadosh and muvdal, separated. V'kula kamekala, holy and separated. V'kula kamekala, mamash chashiv in front of the Eibishter, all before him is not. And the neshama was so close to that light. And now it's so far, from this it will come. The neshama will join along in the Raj Gadol that comes from the Nefesh HaBahamis. Because to the Nefesh HaBahamis, this is all new, because he doesn't know about this. He's from finding out about the Eibishter for the first time. And spiritually also. Then in it, he has a spark from Olam HaToyu, which is infinite. That its root is very high. But it fell down very low. That's why the Nefesh HaBahamis has the power in order to have that great Rash, more than the godly soul, that the Neshama has on its own. The Neshama will get it through living with the Nefesh HaBahamis and joining along with the Nefesh Kenas Kaliyah. This is the yearning. Once you learn, just like the Eifanim, don't stop with yearning. It's not about escaping, it's not about yearning. What's the second phase of the Eifanim? They say, Baruch Kavoid Hashem Emkoimoi. They draw down the Eibishter, Chachmi Allah. They want that the consciousness, the bittul of Chachma, should come all the way down to Olam Asiyah. They actually cause that Amshacha, as we learned earlier, coming from Aye, from that very, very high place, Mimkoimoi. From there they draw down. So the same happens in our own little world, in our Nefesh Lekis Nefesh Bahamas. The yearning is one thing, but then we have to make 100 brachas every day, and comes in the aftermath of our yearning. We yearn in the morning, and then we start saying 100 brachas and mitzvahs that we do. We're drawing actually down the Eibishter into this world. 100 brachas every day, in which we draw down the Eibishter, al derech hanal b'Eifanim, similar to the Eifanim. After they rise up with that Rash, they say Baruch, and that's the answer to their Rash. That's why it's like 100 brachas. From the source of everything, which is the level of Meah. From the ayin, from where Chachma comes from. And what does a bracha mean here? The beauty of the way the Alter Rebbe explains the bracha. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech ha'olam asher kedishanu b'mitzvos v'tzivanu. So what's the teicher of the bracha? Number one, sheyeh baruch v'nimshach b'chinas atah. We want that you alein's Eibishter, do Eibishter. You should be drawn liyos havaya lekeinu. You should become havaya through the Yud Kei Vav Kei, because in order for the Eibishter himself to be mizgala in us, if he would be mizgala as he is, he would blow us. We would be destroyed. Even our neshamas would be destroyed. So therefore, the Eibishter has to be first mitzamtzim himself into a Yud, and then a Hey, and then a Vav, and then a Hey. But through that, it's Ata, your very self, should be drawn avai Elokeinu. You become my power, which means I sense you and feel you, and you become totally revealed inside of me. My consciousness becomes filled with you. Gili alakus b'nishmas Yisroel, that they have gili alakus inside the neshama. Shehem b'chinas pnimiyus ha'olamas, which we know the neshamas, they're the most inner, deepest point of the world. So we have to, when we draw anything into the world, we first have to draw it into our consciousness. That's why the Rebbe was begging so much that we should learn about Mashiach. Because the Rebbe said Mashiach can't come in until you first bring it in Pnimiyus Ha'olamas. It doesn't work that way. You can't have the body, the physical body, do something unless it first is drawn into the brain. It's not a joke. It's not like, oh yeah, you learn, you're into this Mashiach thing, you're not. We're holding already right there, and we have to be Mamshech Mashiach, Pnimiyus Ha'olamas, so it should start revealing itself B'chitzonius Ha'olamas. But he's saying, B'chlal with Elokus, it's that way. First, it should reveal itself inside our neshamas, and when we become conscious of something and we start feeling something, it becomes already the trend of the whole world. Eventually, it makes its way outside into the rest of humanity. And how does it translate? When the Eibishter enters you, what happens? You know what happens? It knocks out all desire. There's no other desire. There's only one desire, becomes one obsession, one passion in your life, and that is Eibishter, because you sense that he is, there's none but him. Such beautiful words. That a Yid should be filled from the Ein Sof, through and through, and afterwards it fully registers in the Jew, Melech HaOlam, should become king over the whole world. It's not enough that it's inside our neshamas. It now needs to reveal itself. Eine is galus alakus, godly revelation, gam bechitzonius ha'olamos. Also in the external part of the world. Shalo yeh mastirim v'nera liyesh v'davar, that even the concrete street, even the physical mamish substances of the outer crust of existence should not be seen as something other than Hashem. We should see how everything is filled just with godly light. Karei gam gashmiyas ha'aretz, because the truth is that even the physical earth, hu be'emes es pashtus elokusa yizbarach. What do you think the physical earth is? It's nothing other than an expansion of God, of the Eibishter's energy, of divinity. That's all it is. Everything is pure lakus. It's just because it's dark, it's thickened, so it appears to us that way. That's the malchus of the world of Asiya, which becomes the physical earth. Through the 100 brachas that we say, every day we're supposed to say 100 blessings, we draw down this into ourselves and from ourselves into the world. We're mamshechit mainly throughout the 100 brachas, but the main revelation of it, that it should reveal itself in the world, is through the acts of mitzvahs that we do. When we later do action, when we do literal mitzvahs, meaning not just the bracha on the mitzvah, but we actually do the mitzvah. Because the 248, now as you connect, why is the mitzvahs the revelation of God in the world? Because the 248 mitzvahs, these are the 248 limbs or channels of the king of the Eibishter. Just like the hand or a limb. Only when you have a limb can the soul express itself. So to God is the soul of all of the existence. And only when you have a limb of the Eibishter down here in this physical world can the Eibishter express himself. What's the limb of the Eibishter? When within the physical world we do a mitzvah, we've created that limb for the Eibishter's, for the nefesh, which is Hashem himself, to express himself begashmias. Umizgalu, umislabish, and he reveals himself and clothes himself toich within it, in the aver, in the limb. So the mitzvahs, and amshachas ratzon elyon, they draw down the Eibishter's ratzon, and he and his will are one. So it's the Eibishter himself, kanoida as it is known. Mitzvahs mitzad atzmam, but hear this: the mitzvahs on their own are maisiyas gashmias. They're physical things. It's not. It's just that mechanics. The mechanics of a mitzvah, of a lulav shaking or a shofar blowing, and even if you say a shofar needs human breath, but even if you have human breath and a shofar blowing, it's not going to produce anything. Why? Because it's not a mitzvah unless a Jew is doing it. Who ain't a mitzvah klal el dafki kishi Yisroel hem makayim moisa. Dafka when a yid is doing it. Sha'azi mitzvah, then it becomes a mitzvah. Umamshichem al yada, and through the mitzvah his galus ein soif baruch hu. We draw down the Yizgalus of the Ein Soif, Lios Ramach Evanim, to be 248 limbs. And that is because only the Jew yearns. The Jewish neshama, and through the Nefesh HaBahamas, as we said earlier, has that Rash Godel, has that yearning. In other words, you can't draw down. The mitzvah is what? The mitzvah is the download. But just like when you want to download something from a certain site. So you first need to access that site. You need to first you have to have Wi-Fi or some kind of internet connection. Then you can access that site, and when you access the site, you can from that site download the download. In our case, you have to first access the Ein Sof. Creatures that are here in Olam Asiyah can't access the Jahada. The only one is Neshamas. But Neshamas also, to really get to the true Ein Sof, they need a piggyback. I don't know piggyback, I don't want to say that, but they have to catch a ride on the horse. The horse can take them up this very steep mountain, and that's the Nefesh HaBahamas when it gets involved. Which is this great Rash. Dafka the Baltshuva cry, not the Tzaddik cry. Tzak libam el Hashem, when they're crying out to the Eibishter, sheyesh behem, that they have shayadeze achakach garmim. This is what causes afterwards liyasam shacham amayla mata, for the amshacha to come down. Aydekima mitzvahs ma'asiyos, through the physical mitzvahs, which actualizes it in this world. Keniska, as we said earlier. The word Rash is the same letters as the word Seyar, here. Now we know that God's here is Keser. the level of Kesser, higher than Chachma. Chachma, we spoke about this last week and 2 weeks ago, that Chachma derives energy from the Eibishter's hair, from the 2 hairs, the tikkun, the 8th tikkun and the 13th tikkun. These are the tikkunim, which are the beard, which are the hair from Kesser. Now, how do you get to touch these hair? You have to shake the hair. How do you get to pull on the Eibishter's hair? The same word as Rash is Seyar. Seyar is here. Rash. That means only the Nefesh HaBahamis is Rash. Rash noilad v'nimshecha oras mepchenes v'sar reishe from the hair of the Eibishter. Zah shar l'Hashem. Shar is the same word as Rash. This is your access point. Only through your Nefesh HaBahamis. Unbelievable. Zah shar l'Hashem. This is the shar. Gabe kaseirim kerevivim. That's why mitzvahs are called planting. So you plant tzedakah canal. Shehem kamoy garin hanizra. That's what's compared to it, because just like a seed is useless if you don't plant it in the right place, so to a mitzvah it's useless if it's sitting on the table. Talis and tefillin, I have my talis sitting over here. Sitting over, it's not doing anything. A yid takes the tefillin, he puts his on, and he puts it right over here. Boom, bow. The whole download is happening. God is being revealed in this world. It doesn't have any taste, as it is a seed. It's only when you plant it in the earth that has the power of vegetation. It becomes a peri. The same as the mitzvahs. When a yid fulfills them, the Ein Sof is drawn. If they'll stay like this, plain tefillin and tzitzis. If he doesn't put them on, or wrap himself, Ish Yisroel yin, he's not going to draw anything down. It's like a seed in makarka with the soil. He says it's not so much in the Jew itself. Let's identify. The main koyach hatzamech is not his neshama. It's not the nefesh alikis. Who dafke bebchinas nefesh habahamas shebe Yisroel is dafke the behema part in the person. This is what's taken from the pnei shor of the Efanim canal. Their root is very high. To create this mrash, just like the earth, the soil. On the one hand, it's very physical. Nefesh Bahamas is pain. It's at the bottom. And the same thing, earth. It's gashmias. Or badafka, in that earth lies this hidden latent power, this incredible potent power. Ubadafka melubish koyach hatzameach, the power to give forth vegetation canal. Shekamoyken hinilkachem pnei shor shebayfanim canal, because it's taken from the pnei shor of the Efanim shemetzadatz musanim uhusanim lamata be'erach min asrafim. In terms of who they are on their own, they're much lower than the Serafim, v'achayas, and the higher malachim called the Chayas HaKodesh. V'afo became behem dafka hu shoyrish HaKoyach. Dafka in them is the shoyrish, is berash gadol, to be in a great rash, ki shor shama oid naila, because they have a very high source, as we said earlier. Kachu mamash benefesh Bahamas. Same as also in the nefesh Bahamas. Shal yoyz b'chenes rash gadol v'tzoak libam. In order for the nefesh Bahamas has rash gadol v'tzoak libam. Shayedei zeh mamshichim kol amshachos, all the amshachos from mamshach. Gam oisam shayedei amitzvahs. You need the nefesh Bahamas to activate the mitzvahs. Keniskal el. Who dafka mitzad nefesh Bahamas. Shabo sheyesh koyach zeli is berash gadol. Dafka, this has this koyach to be berash gadol. El shekamoya karka, just like the earth won't produce anything. Sha'af sheyesh by koyach hatzemeach, even though the earth has it all, einem hatzmechas kluma atzma, will not make anything grow on its own. Ki ma'idei azera azerua ba. You have to still plant the seed in it. Kachkama nefesh Bahamas mitzad atzma. The nefesh Bahamas on its own is useless until you take a neshama and you put it in, and the nefesh Bahamas is guided by the neshama. That's when it produces. The oisam ledes b'chenes rash gadol anal would never have created this great rash. Ki ruach habehema yeredes lamata. Because on its own, by its own devices, it's an animal like a cow that's only looking down the whole time below. It would remain a lifetime. It could live 70, 80 years that way. El al yedei b'chenas. What was the story that Rabbi Shais Tab said, that there was once the goat that looked up in the sky? He always wanted to see the sky. He was very sad. And then someone came and taught him how to, who was the animal that taught the goat how to bend its head upward? He did exercises for 2 months. They did exercise. I think the fox maybe showed him how to move his head. And finally came the night. It was a clear night, and the goat had a chance. And he looked up, and he saw the moon. And he was like, okay. And then the fox met him and he said, so? And he went further. We're practicing this. We worked so hard. We did all kinds of stretches to be able to see it. Fine. I think he said it looked like a piece of cheese or something like that. Yeah, okay. So that's the thing. The animal soul is a behemoth. It doesn't. So on its own, it needs to be educated. Is that the story? I might have totally messed up the story. I don't remember what he said. Yeah, okay, could be that's it. The nefesh l'kis that is enclosed in it. Hamaskelas b'gdulas Hashem that contemplates or understands, that appreciates the greatness of the Eibishter. V'roi memusayin is exalted. Adei keichai dezeh nasa lo des Rash Gadol. Canal, that's what creates the Rash Gadol. V'zeratia li ba'aretz, I planted in the earth. Oir zerua la tzadik, planting the neshama, planting the mitzvahs. Shaideshi Yisroel mekayim ha mitzvahs. Hem matzmichim Yeshuos, they draw down great salvation, which is the highest godliness. L'yisam shachas v'his galus atzmius ein sof baruch hu. To be in his galus of the essence of the Eibishter mamish. Ki ramach mitzvahs asayim ramach evarim de malka. The mitzvahs are the 248 limbs of the king, but only after you want the Eibishter. If you don't want it, you're not going to get the download. And the wanting is part of that experience of the nefesh l'kis, needing to get the animal soul of out. One of the things that happen in an Aver is that the person himself is mislabish in the Avarim. It's not just a ray of the nefesh. And just like the Ifanim raise up and lift up the entire structure of the supernal body, Adam Elyon, like we learned earlier, same way, the nefesh Bahamas lifts up the nefesh l'kis. 1 hour of tshuva and good deeds in this world, mikol chaya olam haba, more than the whole world. Why? Because olam haba on its own is only a ray of the Shechina. But now, when we do tshuva and then do ma'asim tovim, tshuva is the yearning. The ma'asim tovim are the deeds that come afterwards. We're having a vadim de malka, the limbs of the king, not just the ray of the king, but the limbs of the king mamish. Only a yud. But the tshuva, which is the rash gadol, shall nefesh habahamis of the animal soul, or ma'asim tovim is then the actions of the mitzvahs. Mitzvahs, and mamshichas is galus atzmusay mahusay is barach, the very essence of the Eibishter mamish. A lot of tvua will come in the power of the nefesh habahamis, of the power of the ox. That comes from the pnei shor of the mefanim. Tremendous revelation from the Eibishter himself. Mamish. You didn't serve God from more than everything. Everything is referring to the supernal spiritual worlds. It's only a ray. You down here, when you serve the Eibishter, you're accessing much more than that ziv. Likhi, the whole pasuk he's going to explain later, but now just the word likhi. Likhi means my teachings, but the deeper meaning is likhi, taking me. It should drip like rain, likhi, taking me, because Torah and mitzvahs take the Eibishter himself. Pirish likhi sha'atem loikchem oisim mamish kiviyachol. You're literally taking me. Ki amshachas alakusha Yisroel mamshichim. The drawing down of godly light that Yidden are mamshach ayadei rash gadol, through their rash gadol, through mitzvahs, the kiyam mitzvahs, and the fulfillment of mitzvahs, u'ma'atzmusa yizbarach mamish, is mamish from Hashem himself. V'cheinu maimer, this is also what it means, v'atitein lanu Hashem Elokeinu. Simply you read, we say, v'atitein lanu Hashem Elokeinu b'ava. That Hashem, our God, gave us in love. Deeper meaning is, v'atitein lanu, you gave us, Hashem Elokeinu, you gave us yourself. V'atitein lanu, what did he give us, Hashem Elokeinu? Pirish kiviyachol shenasen es atzmo yaleinu. He gave himself to us. That we can draw down his very essence. You wanted us, like we said earlier. But in order to make that happen, he's going to explain the next piece, which we're not going to learn tonight. In order for the nefesh bahamis to get, the earth should produce. You plant seeds, but it's still not going to grow. You need to do two things. You need to plow, and then you have to water it. So the plowing he's going to explain is the broken heart. As necessary. When a person is full of himself, he's never going to yearn for the Eibishter. Can't yearn for the Eibishter if you're arrogant, full of self. self-importance. So you have to have a broken heart, which in daily activity is davening. It's supposed to breed you a person to a broken heart. And in scope of the year, it's Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur that we spoke earlier, is when you soften the soil. You klap Hashamnu next week. What we're going to be doing is we're breaking, literally, we're softening the soil so that the seeds of Torah mitzvahs all year long, then you have to pour water. And the water is the Torah that we learn. Mitzvahs produce this production. But Torah brings the bittul that's necessary, and that's why in Seder of the year, after the Rosh Hashanah comes, both Yom Kippur is the day the Torah is given, second Luchos, and also Simchas Torah, which is all Simchas Torah, which is all the water, Shmini Atzeres, which is water. And later he's going to explain Sukkot as well, all this. So Be'ez Hashem, next week, Thursday night, which is the day after Yom Kippur, we're going to have we're going to complete the Maimer. We're going to learn Hey, Vav, and Zayin, and Ches. We did half today, 1/2 next week. Wow, what a Maimer. Okay. Gemach Sima Toiv and a good gebenched yar. I was in the good old days, I would be able to do another 3 hours. But that's already, ich bin schon alte Yid geworden. No, the max I did was around 5 hours and 12 minutes or something like that. And actually I did it like 2 years ago or last year, I did one 5-hour one also well. Now a long one is about 3.5 hours. Well, we started at about 9, so it's 3 hours and 15 minutes. Run with it. You think I give up the podium as now? Okay. So guys, have some good chalent, Michi, from Abbas. Good chalent from Abbas in the other room. Yes. Yes, whoever stays to the end gets the chant. Yeah. See, I should send out just that little WhatsApp got a bunch of people to come.